Welcome in, SMITE fans, to the SMITE Challenger Circuit. To close out the weekend, we are on the North American side of things. The Kaolin Wardens going up against the Aaru Scorpions to end out the weekend. My name's Frog. I'm joined by none other than the Spooky Mars. Pretty excited to be here. Loving the tie over there on the right side of your screen.
As you
Spooky,
should.
as I should. Spooky, talk to me about this matchup. What are these two teams looking to do?
It's going to be an interesting matchup here tonight, Frog, because both these teams right now, they're 1-1. They've got tied records across the board. They're looking to get a leg up on their competition here in this match. Whoever wins it, they've got momentum going forward into the next week. And this is always about momentum and how you can carry that from week to week. Now, keep in mind, not on any new patches just yet. No crit changes have come through, so expect to see a lot of the same coming out from these teams. My mind, though, it really goes to these Scorpions. How are they going to perform here tonight? Because in week one, they struggled a little bit. Now, that was mostly because they had to play with a sub. They didn't have their normal support. He'd had to switch into that role. It did cost them a match. I won't say that cost them a match, right?
Right,
He
not
did
alone.
his best despite looking uncomfortable. But you always want to be starting your starting players where they're intended to be. So I think that's a place to keep your eye on is how he can perform here now in week number 3.
Having those starting players in their starting roles definitely is an advantage going into a match. But we are ready for picks and bans for game number one. And speaking of those starting players, the other side has made a change too. The Kaolin Wardens adding a jungler
Yes.
in week number 2. They've got short fuse here, played last week, and unfortunately they fell to the Valks. But here again in week 3, and Pandacat was subbed out last week, couldn't make the match. Now he is back in the driver's seat, luckily. So they've got a little bit going for them. And the SEC has some exciting standings, right? Nobody is
Yeah.
now winless, or rather lossless, right? The Valks previously were 2-0. They were the only team going into this week at 2-0, but even they just got taken out in a 2-0 fashion when we watched that game on Friday. So these two teams being 1-1, right? If both of them are able to hold on to that one loss, they could potentially be fighting for that first seed.
Yeah, I can't say I'm really pleased with you for bringing that memory back up for me there, Frog. That was indeed a set that we got to watch. But
Yep.
I do think you've hit the highlight pretty well there. Everyone is taking games off of everyone at this point. That's why this one is so important for both these teams going forward. It's because this is still a very prominent fight for that first seed. No one's really locked into it just yet. And with the Valkyries, who were favored to be the first seed, recently losing, really blows this whole thing wide open. Both these teams have a shot at that spot. Get through these bans. You can see pretty much standard stuff coming through here, Frog. I don't think anything is super surprising. Tigris be the lock-in for the Aaru Scorpions. And I guess that's pretty fitting, because he's got the Scorpion tail, and he's going to the Aaru Scorpions.
That feels like a little bit of a reach.
No, it's
Especially
not.
given the
It's literally
fact that
his tail.
Sirket was just buffed, and Sirket has literally she's unbanned at the moment, so she
Maybe we'll
could
see both.
still be picked potentially. Could see both. You're absolutely right. But you mentioned the bans. I think predictably the healers getting taken away, some of the solo lane picks as well. Guan Yu taken off the board, and I think no
Tremble
surprise to
beneath
see
the
one of those
waves.
solo lane picks at the top of the list being hovered over here on the right hand side as well.
Work.
Smart from the Wardens to prioritize these two frontline picks. I love that top two.
Yeah, lots of sustain, lots of kind of run at you capabilities here. It's going to be hard to take down this Warden's frontline, but as you mentioned here, Frog, Sirket is still available. That is one of the few gods left that still have 100% anti-heal on one of their abilities.
Overrun our enemies.
Tigris also, importantly, has anti-heal inherent to the kit. Not going to see the Sirket being looked at just yet. Instead, focusing
Time to fight.
likely on the solo lane and the support, kind of matching the front line from the Wardens here. Scorpions know what the front line for the Wardens are. They go ahead and pick up their own tanks, kind of deal with it. Question, though, is where this Marty is going to be going. Recently, we've seen a lot more of Martigris in the mid lane rather than the Hunter role. So this could be Marty in the mid, and then they still have to pick their Hunter here. Ishtar available. Kronos going to be picked up by the Wardens, but there's still lots of potential here for the Scorpions. If I'm the Wardens, I'm probably banning the way the Ishtar here just to be on the safe side.
Yeah, and I think jungle it may be even safer, right? That's the only role that you feel pretty confident hasn't been picked up. But even then, Vamana has some flex potential on the Scorpions as well. So I think that first three remains a bit ambiguous, which is going to allow them to flex in the second half of this draft. But still no mid laner, or no mages rather, picked for either side. And I think predictably, you see that Merlin getting taken away and you see that Serket getting taken away as a jungle pick for the Wardens, which, you know, admittedly, you don't get the Scorpions on the Serkets. You don't get that synergy, but at the very least, you don't have it against you either.
I mean, they've lost. They've lost the game. They've banned themselves out. They saw their mascot and they said, you know what? We'll just get rid of it. Now, maybe it's just a confidence thing, right? They don't need that extra hype energy going for them.
Oh, for sure.
I do respect it. You know, they've got the Terra, they've got the Vamana. Vamana doesn't really rely on a lot of healing anymore now that his ult switched over to be shielding. It's always nice not to deal with the burst that can come through from Serket now. Now that she has passive crit chance on her ultimate, she could do a lot very early.
Makes them mayhem.
Honestly, a little bit frustrating to face off against sometimes. They get rid of that. Likely.
Discordia and Chernobog
I
being
don't
locked
like
in.
that as much.
I think that forces one of these hunters over towards the solo lane.
It better be Chernobog. Like, it should be Chernobog going to the solo lane. He's your best way to rotate out of the solo lane with the Living Nightmare ultimate. Get him across the map very quickly. He does have the range to kind of poke out this Hercules and a lot of safety. Should be difficult for Relentless One to actually put damage into this Chernobog from range. If he tries to go for the combo, disappear into a wall, back out at range, should be easy enough to put the damage down. But I mean, there's so much weird stuff happening. Maybe it's Martigris in the jungle. Oh, never mind. This looks a little bit better. It's gonna be Odin in the solo lane. Chernobog's likely to be the ADC.
Sure enough, they locked it in, and then I think they realized that they misclicked, so that, you know, they messaged the Wardens. They were like, "Hey, can we actually pick Odin?" And they were like, "Yeah, no worries, no worries. Odin's totally fine." But that will round out the 5 picks for the Aaru Scorpions. Double physical, a lot of physical damage on that composition. Maybe looking to be something the Wardens try and focus on as they're rounding out their builds. But you look on the other side, another physical god picked out for that last pick. The Gilgamesh, not something we've seen super often.
Now, Gilgamesh has certainly fallen out of favor a little bit here. But I'm kind of liking it right now, right? You've got the Gilgamesh, you've got your Yamoja, and you've got the ESET on top of that. If you combine these ultimates, I mean, that's a ton of damage that's coming through. Very easy to charge the Circle of Protection alongside the Winds of Shemesh. Question is, can you actually find the target and lock them down in there? Going up against the Odin Cage, so there's definitely tools from the Scorpions to split up the fight as well. You can kind of see where the Wardens are looking to play. They're looking to play around these objectives where these big circular ultimates are going to have a ton of impact. Alongside the ESET and the Yamoja, it's going to be tough to fight them off of these objectives.
Well, we'll see how it all rounds out. We are ready to jump into game number 1. Aaru Scorpions going up against the Kaolin Wardens. Going to be interesting to see how these compositions round out. And predictably, we do see that Odin pick near the end of the draft. We talked about this flex potential. Not only does the Marty Chorus end up in the mid lane, right? Maybe the more common guess, but maybe the more uncommon guess is this Vamana out of the jungle. And I love this frontline pressure that the Scorpions are going to have. I'm still a little bit concerned, though, how this quad physical damage is going to come through and feel, especially as we get later.
It's definitely going to be a little bit tougher, especially due to the recent changes in how penetration works. You're not getting as much as you used to. He takes a fair amount of damage there. Actually ends up with the speed buff on him, so he's going to be taking that over to the solo lane. Not a big fan of that, personally. Odin, one of those gods that's pretty reliant on his mana bar, very ability reliant when it comes to clearing the waves. Have to see how he holds the pressure up against Relentless One on the Hercules on that one. But I want to circle back here, Frog, and talk a little bit more about this quad physical composition from the Scorpions. Now, they do have ways to deal with it. They've got 2 Hunters. They can build Executioner. Marty going to be building a lot of Pen as much as he physically can. The question is, how much of a lead can they get in the early game before the Wardens are able to actually start stacking that armor? If the Scorpions can create a snowball and start taking this Odin Cage to the objectives, to these Pyromancers, to these Gold Furies, and start winning fights off of that, that's going to be their path to victory. But if they're starting to approach the 20-minute mark, and you're looking at an even game state, that's when these armor items are going to be a lot more effective. These physical procs are going to be stacked up against the Scorpions. I expect you'll struggle to see a lot of damage come through from them at that point.
Yeah, I mean, that requires them to get to that 20-minute point, either even or maybe even ahead if they really want to be ahead. It will look like Short Fuse is hanging around on this right-hand side as Odin has lost a little bit of pressure over there in that solo lane. But, I mean, I think that brings a big question to me in terms of the jungle pressure. We're seeing these 2 junglers. We've seen Vamana a little bit, especially at the highest level of play, and he does offer a little bit of pressure, but against the Gilgamesh, now you have 2 warriors in the jungle. I mean, who's really looking to apply that pressure to make sure that both of these teams can successfully get to 20 minutes and be in good standing?
It's a trick question there, Frog, and I don't appreciate that because the answer is both. They are both looking to apply pressure, and the key to doing that successfully is applying it on opposite sides of the map. Both Miggy on this Vomit and Short Fuse on the Gilgamesh want to be very active and really bring as much pressure as they can in the early game. Their biggest power spikes are both at level 5 when they get their ultimates online. You can see they're both kind of centered around this right side right now. They're looking for this blue buff. Let's see how that one goes for them.
Yeah, Miggy's gotten there early. It will be stolen away, but that jump in from Heed may get him turned around on Relentless One. Has the boulder, ticks over to 5 at the perfect time, and grabs first blood for the Wardens. Not picking up that blue buff early for Heed really spelled a lack of pressure in that lane.
Yeah, there's just no way he could keep up with the clear from Relentless One at that point. I mean, you've got so much damage coming from the Hercules abilities, and if he's got just more mana sustain than you, he can use the abilities more freely. That's how the solo lane works. I don't know if it was a mistake that he'd picked up the speed buff, or if they're maybe trying something out in scrims and it worked a little bit better. But if you are going to have your solo laner take that speed buff, it's got to be someone that's not Odin or generally ability based as a whole. If it's someone who's more basic attack focused, like, I don't know, we could look at the Horus even. You could throw the speed buff on him. He's still ability based, but he goes for that Golden Blade. Does a little bit more clear. You're not going to see a Golden Blade coming out from Heat on this Odin. It is simply not going to happen. It's not in his toolkit. That's not the game plan he wants. So now this pressure goes the way of the Kaolin Wardens on this right side of the map. Expect to see Short Fuse making a few more rotations over to that blue buff. If they can keep Heat down, that is a big part of the Scorpions' game plan that isn't going to work, because they need this Odin Cage around objectives in order to actually find themselves snowballing. If they're not able to get Heat active, then he's simply going to kind of wither away in that solo lane. And Odin behind is basically not a character.
Yeah, I mean, Odin's definitely going to struggle if we get to these team fights and you're seeing 2-3 levels behind as we jump into a Gold Fury fight. But, I mean, speaking of the Odin Cage, I see a lot of big circles in this game. There's a couple on the Scorpion side. You get the Terra ultimate, you get the Odin ultimate. But, I mean, this composition, specifically the 2v2 in mid, Panda Cat going for this E set, not a pick that we've seen very popular at all at the top level of play. I mean, something that Panda Cat pulled out when he was playing mid once upon a time in the SPL, but it's something we've seen more recently in support. And then Gilgamesh has that large ultimate as well. It feels like a lot of area control, but a very specific idea they're bringing to the table.
Yeah, this is very much a comfort pick for Pete Cat. A little bit of an engagement there on the left side. Rivers of Puke actually comes up, might have a fight going.
Yeah, Anxious will trap both of them in, at least slow things down. for the time being, but not Gino dodges out that stun. A little bit interesting from Guy J to use the Living Nightmare there. Loses the rotational ability, but does want to get back here, make sure that he's in time for the purple buff invade, which will maybe force yet another fight. Griff pushing up. Gino will try and stun him out, but a good dash into the wall. And Guy J picks a different target, and now they're separate. Griff trying to take down Anxious, but a good Theranos ultimate comes through and at least slows things down and allows Griff to escape out of there cleanly. Thought he might want to chase that kill down a little bit further, but just some action for no kill.
That fight is all on the back of Anxious stunning Griff as Guy J comes out of, or I'm sorry, not Gino. Anyway, they stunned Theranos as Guy J comes out of the wall. And that was really the integral part of the fight, because what Griff wanted to do was just drop the Wild Hunt on Guy J as he disappeared from that wall. That's why they held that ultimate ability and just allowed Gino to stun him down, force him into the wall first, and try to set up the kill potential there. Well, stun comes through, Anxious. Griff doesn't get to launch the Wild Hunt as Guy J comes out, and then it's a split fight. And Guy J almost takes the better end of that by just almost Uno reverse carding Griff and putting him down in the grave. Unfortunately for Kaolin Wardens, or actually the Scorpions, they weren't quite able to find all the damage they needed, and so still this game remains pretty much at an even standpoint here, Frog. We are now 7 minutes into the game. Only one kill has actually come through, and it was really only because he'd overstepped without a blue buff. These teams are playing cautiously right now, and neither really seems to be willing to commit too much to a single fight.
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised that Short Fuse decided not to show up to that next blue buff and you know, look to continue that pressure on the right-hand side, but instead he will just be holding on to that sort of half a level, full level deficit here in the solo lane. But looks like both teams seem satisfied, at least for the time being, holding on and waiting for that team fight stage of the game that we talked about a little bit earlier, that 15-20 minute, as I say that, Short Fuse of course invades the blue buff, but this will actually open up a window on the other side of the map, and nobody is here for this gold fear. The Kaolin Wardens are desperately trying to get their way over there, and Panicat will arrive in time, as does Griff, and Gino is on the way to try and help the team out, but all they'll do is successfully isolate the support, and not Gino will not use this shell and will not survive. Will get taken down, and Miggy gets turned around on. Short Fuse finally arrives from the blue buff side of the map and will drop the ultimate, but only a couple low members to speak for it, and a blink will get Miggy out of there safely. Will pick up the Gold Fury, but no kills, or rather only one kill, and now that's a window for the Warden.
Yeah, this is still a close fight here. Multiple ultimates have been expended. Fury half health, but there's the circle of protection. That's the confirm they're looking for.
And they will confirm the Gold Fury and jump in onto Baronary. No ultimate available will spell doom for the mid laner, and he will fall for the second kill on the board. The Wardens, just a 1-for-1. I actually applauded them in pulling that Gold Fury, but it seems like once the Wardens showed up, it was just all over the place from them.
It didn't seem like they had a concentrated response on the side of the Scorpions. The Wardens showed up, and yes, the Scorpions decided to start walking at them. We saw Miggy go into the big baby, started slamming his little umbrella into the ground. Unfortunately, the targets he was chasing were a little bit too fast, a little bit too much distance. Wasn't able to actually put a whole lot of damage into that backline on the Wardens. You know, it does fall, but when you expend that many tools just killing off the support, it doesn't make your after-fight contests really look all that good. And shout out to production for hovering the Caduceus Club there, because that was actually something I wanted to talk about before we got to that Fury. I was actually surprised that Relentless One goes for this item, because normally we see the Golden Blade come out to enhance the clear a little bit and give the Hercules a lot more pressure in the lane. Going against Heed on the Odin, who completely shuts off your healing inside that cage, I thought this was a little bit of a mistake there from Relentless One, but we saw its effectiveness around that Gold Fury. You simply can't do much to push him away when he just decides to start running at you, and then you have to start committing more and more people to him, like this 3-man rotation.
Yeah, I mean, this is a lot of committal here. And
Whoa.
early 3-man rotation at just 10 minutes, and they might not even get him. He gets the movement speed from the breastplate and pushes 2 under tower. Relentless one feeling the benefits of that healing. And meanwhile, Kaolin Wardens have found themselves an opportunity in mid, trying to force the 2v1. Guy J makes it a 2v2, and the supports are not hesitating to rotate over as well. Just some low health bars, though, once again, the mid laners, both of them, able to survive just an ultimate trade there in the mid lane.
All right, so here's the thing, Frog. Once Hercules gets 2 items online, you're kind of done. You're kind of done trying to target him in that lane. You can send all the people you want over there to him, but one of 2 things is going to happen. 1, he's just not going to die, and he's going to spam laugh at you while he recalls under tower. Or 2, he is going to die, but it takes so long to do it that you don't actually get to do anything on the map because of how much you put towards taking him down. In this case, he doesn't die, and he eats up a bunch of the Scorpion's time. Wardens almost found an answer back in that mid lane as well. Baroneri forced up into the ultimate, had to use that just for safety. It always feels bad when you're using the death from above just to get out of danger. It's really a powerful tool in these team fights and in these one-on-ones. If you're not getting to actually do the damage with it, yes, it's doing its job by getting you out of danger, but it's showing you that you don't have really momentum on this map. Right now, the Wardens are the ones controlling the flow of the game. Scorpions are going to have to step up around these objectives to really find an answer back on it.
Nachino coming around the back of the dual lane here, and it'll quickly turn into a 3v2 if they're not careful. Anxious gets pulled back, and Guy J almost was trapped there just for a second, but Not Gino ultimately does not have enough to force the ADC to stick around, so Short Fuse will head back towards the mid lane. And I think this almost has turned on a dime, right? I mean, it felt pretty even. It felt like both teams are finding their small opportunities. Baroneri just barely gets into that ultimate to avoid the blink engage there, but he may not be able to say the same thing. He's actually trying to turn things around onto Panda Cat, and Short Fuse is trapped in the cage as well. He'll jump out, and Miggy's there to help out the team. Both soul laners rotated over. Only one nabs a kill, though, and the mid laner will fall in trade for the support on the other side. If Griff can take this one down, he needs to
my, come on!
But the team is given time to rotate over, and now it's a 3v3 in their own purple buff. Griff taken down solo, but the healing is coming through from Gino. Won't be enough, and Miggy is on a killing spree. 3 fall in the fight, 2 for 1. But ultimately, the low health bars, I'm not sure they'll be able to turn this into anything. They're continuing to push, and Relentless One just will not fall.
Man, he's just unkillable right now. You cannot stop him. And I want you to understand, Frog, Relentless One doesn't actually have much in the way of physical procs right now. Take a look at his third item. It's a Genji's guard. He's itemized against Anxious on the Terra just to get his cooldowns up more frequently. He just wants to be spam healing the mitigate wounds, which, as you can see, is currently maxed out. He is a terror on the front line right now, and there's just no real good way to stop him. The cage might do it.
He's gonna try. Blink Sand traps 2 in the cage, and Relentless One is getting swallowed alive. But a fantastic Riptide takes both of the tanks to safety for the Wardens, and now the engage tools are few and far between. All the ultimates on cooldown except for Miggy's. And the Kaolin Wardens have rotated to the left side and are looking to re-engage. But look for Miggy on the right-hand side. Short Fuse may get trapped out as well. It's just a delay on the engage, and after that initial cage, nobody's willing to pull the trigger.
You better be careful. Miggy in the jungle kind of hunting for him right now. Let's put some damage back out. Oh my goodness!
He wants to get this kill. He has to drop the ultimate, but that will not save enough. The tower shot, he's on 1 HP there in the mid lane, and Miggy just barely makes it out alive. Double digits is all you need. He'll grab a pick on the Panda Cat, and they may try to force an objective.
Matt, this is such an odd game to look at right now. P-Cat just out of position. Short Fuse also out of position here. Baroneri capitalized on that one, goes and collects on it. Actually makes the Fury look very appetizing to the Scorpions now. Yes, Miggy is very low. Should be resetting right about now. Still, Scorpions just stepping forward.
Yeah, and Griff is trapped in the cage. No ability to jump out of that one, but the River's Rebuke at least forces the members of the Scorpions back towards the Gold Fury, and I'm afraid that they've squandered this opportunity. They had 2 down. They had Circle of Protection was on cooldown, and they just don't pull the Gold Fury.
Yeah, this is a miscalculation, I'd say, from the Scorpions. Now, what I think is giving them hesitation is Relentless One. He's simply kind of too big to put down easily. And so that means he can just walk at you when you start up an objective like the Oni Fury. Now you're dealing with the Oni Fury dealing damage to you. You're dealing with Relentless One getting in your face and trying to push you off of the objective. It's a tightrope that the Scorpions are walking right now. And if they don't trust their secure, which frankly, they don't have a lot of it. Their best secure is probably Baronary, using Death from Above, and that's not how you want to use Death from Above in this game. So they're trying to play it a little bit more cautiously. They're trying to get Relentless One out of the picture before they commit to these fights. Problem is that it takes so long to do so, they end up losing their opportunity entirely. Wardens still ahead in the gold department. Not quite as dominant in the XP department. You can see Miggy is really benefiting from this 3-0 lead he has right now. 2 levels up over Short Fuse. That shouldn't be a major concern for the Wardens either, because their main goal with Short Fuse is around the objectives like the Pyromancer, which is apparently unnoticed by the Wardens. Scorpions just get 1 more.
Will just get picked up successfully, and that'll close the gold lead even further. However, it is looking to just get that much bigger if they're able to secure the Oni Fury, which by the response time of the Scorpions, looks like it will be a successful Oni Fury over to the Kaolin Wardens, at least this time around. They'll pick up that next version of the objective, and they'll grab Baronary's ultimate as well, although I'm not sure that there's really any follow-up from the Wardens other than Relentless One, making sure that you know that he's there. He's on the map. He is participating in the game. He's getting beads by himself under the tier 1 tower, but he's not happy with that. He forces the engagement on the back end of things. Phantom Shell gets popped, but Short Fuse goes in alone. Relentless One, the one time he chooses to back off, he leaves his jungler in the lurch, and Short Fuse gets deleted from the front side of the fight. Guy J into the Living Nightmare will transform over towards that left-hand side just to stop the tier 1 tower, but that doesn't stop the fight in the mid lane, and look for Miggy to get involved in the back. He's in, and he is looking to swallow Panda Cat alive. Everybody's forced to disengage on the River's Rebuke, but he may not be able to get out of there so easily. The fight just keeps on going.
This isn't even like a fight at this point. They're just like swapping abilities. Say, hey, look at what my character does. Oh, well, this is what my character does. Well, I have this cool ability over here. Like, well, what are they fighting for right now? What is the actual overall objective here? Apparently, is to dive the tower with Relentless One and push Scorpions to further into their tier 2 tower. Finally, the Wardens do collect a tier 2 off the back of this elongated fight, is what I will call that one. It's 2,000 gold lead for them now. And I think you can start to see the effect of this quad physical composition from the Scorpions. They fight for a very long time, but they aren't really able to put anyone down. And frankly, it's a surprise because Relentless One has Caduceus Club and a silver breastplate. Like, where are the actual physical prots coming from on this team? Well, it's just the fact that you can't kill the Wardens very easily. They can stack physical prots. They have so much healing between Relentless One, Not Geno, and Panda Cat. It's a real challenge to put any single member of the Wardens down. Short Fuse only really died because he was so far overextended. And if you have that much trouble just in the mid lane in front of your tower, how hard is it going to be around these fire giants? Because we're 20 minutes in now, Frog. We're starting to look towards that objective. Scorpions have to be able to find significant instant picks if they want to be able to start up any of these objectives. Otherwise, they're relying on the Warden starting the objective first. And if you're looking at a circle protection for secure, it's not the position you want to be in.
Yeah, I mean, I do not want to be 50-50ing against the circle of protection. That is for sure. But when we see these elongated fights, I'm looking at the healing, and immediately I'm looking at the anti-heal, and it is only this brawler's beat stick from Martikaros. You do have an Ankh as well. Credit to Anxious, and maybe you'll build into that crit anti-heal as well once those Deathbringers come online. But I mean, the Kaolin Wardens are just able to poke out, show them what their abilities do, as you, I think, appropriately pointed out. And not Gino is just stacking the healing numbers. Panda Cat gets to heal as well. And we just see this where Relentless One, almost for no reason, is walking through the enemy jungler. And we burn the River's Rebuke as well. Heed will find no engage off of the back of it. They're trying to get some damage onto Gino, and Relentless One steps up once again, but he may have finally gotten trapped in the cage. The Phantom Shell gets burned out, and this is all right before the Gold Fury spawns. And now finally they want to go back in. Nobody can find the Pinnacle engage.
Yeah, it's to the skies from Baronarian. There's the first kill. Finally comes through. Panda Cat starting it off.
Mickey gets burned before the ultimate comes out, and that's a huge win for the Wardens, but Baronary turns it around. Panda Cat falls for the 1-for-1, and now Relentless One still in the front line, but Guy J doing the damage and has found short fuse into mid-camp and forces him to jump away. Heed has found the space and is forcing all three members back under the tier 1, but if I'm Heed, I'm not slowing down. You've got a minion wave, and you've got your 2 hunters behind you, and 3 low members under that tier 1, but they'll think better of it and back down in favor of the Pyromancer. Focus on the objective. This should be the second time they grab this one, unless Relentless One has anything to say about it, but they should be able to pick that one up and walk away.
Finally, the teams fight for a reason. It may not be the reason they started the fight over, but eventually, all is said and done, Scorpions say, okay, we're in mid lane now. Health bar is not looking the best, so let's go ahead and take the Pyromancer. Should be free, and it is free. 2 runic bombs now for the Scorpions. Something these teams have been doing a lot, just holding on to these runic bombs, waiting for a good push or to use it for secure. Scorpions going to go ahead and take both objectives on the map now. But even so, Frog, even with 3 kills up, just having taken the Pyromancer and the Gold Fury, still not a significant lead for the Scorpions at all. Anxious takes a bit of damage there. And it's just weird positioning from both sides, Frog. Constantly, it's just one of these frontliners way up out of position, just kind of chilling and almost taking a vacation in the enemy jungle before they come to get evicted and they're sent running again.
Dude, I am so excited to see the damage mitigated numbers at the end of this game.
Look at him now.
Because, yeah, they're he is at 41,000. He's more than double anybody else on the map. The only one, the next 2 are the tanks of the Scorpions, right? I mean, because they're in the front line as well. But Relentless One is just walking around, man. He's just walking around the map, pressing the W key, and has already racked up almost 50,000 damage mitigated here at 24 minutes, and nobody's even ready to look at the Fire Giant. But I think you get a sense of exactly where the Warden's head is at, or at least where Relentless One's head is at. Get in the fight early and often. And I think that goes well with what specifically the roles of the junglers have been. And this is where I wanted to sort of point your attention to. Perhaps we won't get a chance if he gets focused out here on the right-hand side, but the collapse may be incoming from all of the members.
Oh boy. That was an interesting blink from Heed, but he's still alive for the fight.
Yeah, Living Nightmare comes through, and Guy J finds himself trapped alone.
Oh boy.
He finds himself next to both the carries, and Griff may be focused out now as well. Panda Cat falls, and Griff is desperately trying to get back under the tier 1, and he will successfully find safety. Can't say the same for Baronary, though, and Relentless One picks up a double kill along with a pullback onto Miggy. The beads will keep him alive for a little bit longer, but there is not enough potentially in the tank for them to finish it off. He'll dash away and will get out on the other side of the Fire Giant, although they're not going to continue the chase. Instead, they turn right around onto the objective. This will be close if they want to steal.
I can't believe Relentless One relented on the chase. Going for an objective instead of the kill. Unbelievable. He is here looking to try to make the steal. They're not paying him any attention.
Yeah, they don't have the secure as well. He potentially can jump in, but the Wardens take the Fire Giant, and they're going to turn things around onto Heat as well, although I'm not sure they'll be able to burn him down. The objective is the important one, and they've taken it under their wings. 25 minutes, Fire Giant pushing down mid lane, and the Wardens are not done either. They take down Anxious and offset the death timers. They've got a siege ahead of them.
Bro, this is a game of Relentless One right now. Look at the damage numbers. He is at the top of damage mitigated and damage dealt at this point. He's just walking at people and doing Hercules things. He's going to go ahead and take the tower as well here. With Fire Giant on all 5 members of the Wardens, it's not long for this world. Actually, 4 members. Excuse me, Panda Cat did fall. And I think that's been the weakest point of the Warden so far. Not Panda Cat, but the fact that Panda Cat and Griff never seem to be in the same place during these fights. They're never focusing the same targets. And that's part of why Relentless One is doing so much work in them, is because he's simply the guy who lasts the longest and can put out the numbers that you need. Cat and Griff need to get back on the same page, maybe a bit more towards the back line. Maybe not just trying to facilitate Relentless One quite so much as he's diving. He facilitates himself just fine. He doesn't need Cat up there with him. Regardless, Primal Fury being looked at, and who is here but Relentless One to try to put some pressure.
I thought that Earthbreaker was going to do it. Just take away with a little bit of damage. Yeah,
I would have been very mad.
The Kaolin Wardens do have Fire Giant at least for the next minute and a half, and I think it's right of them to look to push down some of these towers. Still 5 towers, actually, remaining on the map for their squads. There's a lot of global gold. 4 towers, excuse me. Don't do math on cast, folks. But they still have global gold to be able to take down, and it looks like the Aaru Scorpions don't want to wait for this one. They'll look to force the fight themselves. He traps 3 in the cage, but nobody is in range to follow up. He will just get shredded and does not get out of there alive. Relentless One on a rampage, and it's gonna be just to continue the chase. Bandit Cat will get saved by the shell. Baronary trying to die for the 1-for-1, but he'll get taken down as well. And Relentless One is relentless in the back line of the enemy team. Beads late from Guy J, and he pushes back Miggy as well. They will not slow down at all. 3 fall, and they'll continue on the push.
They have so many tools still available for this dive. Like, how does Gino still have the River's Rebuke? Like, how does Shortfuse still have the Winds of Shemesh? All 4 are dead. Miggy is the only defender. It's gonna be a Phoenix taken down by the Kaolin Wardens. Frog, they're looking for an end.
Yeah, Miggy has the ultimate available, but it would have to be beautiful. He's got to take down at least 4 of these members. The Titan's falling fast, though, and a blink in along with the ultimate at least will find Panda Cat as 3 get trapped in the cage, but they'll take down Miggy. They'll force out Keed, and Baronary is on the respawn now. They have to back off. They do not have enough in the tank to end at 29 minutes. They'll take 1, they'll take the Phoenix, and reset up for the Fire Giant, unless the blink in from Short Fuse just to force the ult, making me catch my breath. But Fire Giant's next on the list.
Frog, I think that the Aaru Scorpions, the Wardens are doing a lot of things, but they're not making you catch your breath at all. The action is just going to keep continuing on. Guy J is ulted on in.
Living Nightmare will be able to slow down Short Fuse, but Relentless One is here again just to deal for his team this time. This time they've got the shred, though, and he gets dropped down to 40% HP. That's a good sign for the next fight looming, that you're at least able to do damage to this Hercules, it feels like, finally. But now finally as well, the Scorpions have the front foot. They'll pick up the objective.
They're going to go ahead and start up this EFG. This is the enhanced one, my friends. The Wardens aren't about to give this up quietly. Gino is here. and the Wardens have arrived.
They're shredding it down. It's at 20%. They may try to coin flip this one, and it's going to look to be secure. The Scorpions take the EFG, but the fight afterwards, anything but. Griff takes down Anxious, and Heed is running the wrong way. I'm sure he may eventually get taken out. As look at where Gino is on the map. He's like, he's ready to cut him off at the tier 1 tower. Heed is not long for this world and will eventually fall on this right-hand side. 3 members, though, able to hold on to the CFG, and they may just push down this mid lane with the time they have.
Very good plays there from Heed. He was able to just distract the Wardens for a good amount of time, but look at this response. The Scorpions still have 2 down, so the Warden is just going to start pushing and taking these objectives away. 1 tower falls, 2nd tower will be burned as well. Keep in mind, that mid lane Phoenix is still down. The Wardens may look for a 5v4. No, they are backing up. I think is definitely the correct and safe call for them to do. But what they've done now is they've burnt a decent amount of time on that EFG. It's still going to be on the Scorpions for a while longer. They've still got plenty of siege potential ahead of them. Make no mistake here. As they start grouping up here, they have to make things a little bit faster. They have to actually commit to their decisions. If they're spending time on this Oni Fury, that's less time to spend on the Phoenixes.
The 3 damage dealers of the Scorpions still holding on to that EFG, and they're going to use it to try and position around this Oni Fury, but the Wardens are not deterred. 5 members strong on this left side, and I'm totally wrong. They are absolutely deterred once the 5 members of the Scorpions show up, as they should be. And I think that's right? The question is whether or not they want to put up a proper defense on these tier 2 towers, or are suddenly the script is going to flip. It looks like they're not even in position to go onto this tier 2 tower. It might be a Phoenix siege.
Yeah, absolutely not defending a tier 2 against the EFG. It's just not worth it at that point. The structure burns way too quickly with 75% reduced backdoor prots. Extra damage to them. Scorpion is going to simply chew through that in a heartbeat. With the extra damage the Scorpions have as well, the physical power, the magical power, the sustain, Wardens just don't stand a chance defending on a tier 2. So they make the wise decision. They give it up for free. They already spent a little bit of time kind of wasting the Scorpion's own time around that Oni Fury. Made a little dance, knew they weren't going to hard commit to it, but it just made the objectives take that much longer for the Scorpions. State of the game right now, Frog. Scorpions took an EFG, lost 2 members, lost 2 towers. By the time this EFG actually falls off of them, they're not going to have a significant lead. In fact, the gold is still in favor of the Wardens right now. This is far from a game closer. This is all about how can we get in position to have an advantage on the next Fire Giant. And frankly, you can't. Right now, the Scorpions need to find a way to get a pick just before this Fire Giant actually respawns. They have to do it without their own buff. It's a tough dance to walk, and with the resets coming through from the Scorpions, Warden should have the time it takes, the time they need, get some vision down, counteract some of these sentries that have been placed by the Scorpions around this Fire Giant, get a better positioning advantage.
Yeah, they've at least gotten back on even footing, it seems, right? They get their Phoenix up in mid, they get their Titan back to full HP, but now it's all about positioning around this EFG, and the Wardens have the advantage, at least in terms of raw positioning, but Guy J is making them think about it, and will make 2 members back. Once you see the 2 members here, you may think about the Living Nightmare. Guy J can rotate over in an instant, and the Fire Giants now respawn.
Smart from Short Fuse, doesn't show his face on that left side, but there's the ultimate coming out from Guy J.
Living Nightmare comes through, and the Terra ultimate follows. 2 members trapped in the cage here, and Relentless One is able to survive the damage at least off the bat. The blink in from Short Fuse, he's rejoined the fight, and Anxious is the one on the front lines. Heed zoning out Griff on the left side as well. For all of that action, nobody has dropped below 75%.
Still very healthy are both these teams, but there's been multiple ultimates used. 3 down on the side of the Scorpions, 2 down side of the Warden. Still wins available, still Circle of Protection available. That's what's keeping these teams still a little bit cautious of each other. You can't walk in and just start the Fire Giant when you're staring down the Circle Protection. Similarly, though, the Wardens aren't in a position where they can just start DPSing the objective. It's still, like you said, a very close game. Relentless One gets pinched here. That could be all it takes to break it open.
He gets stunned, will dash away, and the shield comes through from the healing there as the boulder gets dropped as well, just using the ultimates. And Baroneri gets clipped as well. He'll be down to 50% HP, but Relentless One getting poked as well. Look at Miggy's positioning in this fight. He is waiting for the Wardens to overcommit so he can find his way into the back line, and they'll smartly back off and use this out-of-combat healing that both of these teams are able to hold on to. This Fire Giant fight is still looking for either of these teams to find the perfect engage, and Speed may have found it right here to get trapped in the cage, but the shield is perfect. They get the shell, and everybody's able to walk away safely, and it'll just be another one of those cages that gets engaged on. Everybody walks away.
IJ's ultimate just about back up. Actually does come off the cooldown now. This game is just kind of the tale of the front line beating on each other and not able to find any real advantage. Not Gino does get engaged on. From above, put some damage down. The Rivers of Butte might be it.
Traps 3 into this backline camp, and only Baroneri is under focus. Unless Miggy, he dumps into the backline and gets turned around on instantly. He has to jump away to preserve his health bar, and once again, a jungler gets left alone in the enemy team's backline, and Miggy gets swallowed alive. That's the first pick we've had in a while. 45 seconds now, advantage to the Wardens.
Yeah, but look at this. The Wardens have backed, and the Scorpion saw them do it. He saw them start the recall. They're gonna start up this objective. They know Circle Protection is down, but can they get the secure?
It's gonna be a coin flip down to 20% HP. They're looking for the steal, and the Wardens take it away, and they push the Scorpions out at the same time. Guy J will fall. 2 down for the blue squad, and it may be 3 if Anxious is chased down here well. Short Fuse picks up the rampage on a 5 spree. They get the EFG, they get 3, and they are pushing down the mid lane.
He is in no position to defend this one. Has to go all the way back to the fountain. Baroneri has to hold the line until he comes back up. Siege is on.
They've got 3 to defend here, and Miggy has the ultimate in just a couple of seconds, but the death from above, it's not enough. It takes down Panda Cat, but they're shredding the Titan, and the Kaolin Wardens don't need to get all the kills to get the Titan. That's what matters, and they'll take game 1.
Circle Protection is just doing that much damage right now. You get to the late game, that is a big burst that comes through. It's enough to secure a Fire Giant. It's enough to secure your kill onto the Titan. I liked the idea from the Scorpions. It was a good idea to go for that EFG. They just had to pull that trigger slightly faster. If they had been 1 second faster on it, they probably secure that for themselves and get back out. As it was, though, a little bit slow on it. Didn't burn it quite fast enough to get it done before the Warden showed up. At that point, even if they had gotten the EFG, they were probably losing 1 or 2 people there. The fight afterwards was not going to go their way. Might have held on to their Titan, but the way that was 5v2, 5v3, your odds aren't great even with the enhanced Fire Giant.
Yeah, I mean, even that first enhanced Fire Giant that they grabbed, it almost felt like at times that they were only doing it to get back on their feet as opposed to like push their lead even further. And they got back on their feet. Absolutely. Like it's been a minute since I've seen that back and forth of a Fire Giant dance. Neither of these teams seem like they wanted to find the one end-all, be-all engage. Wow, 43k damage from Baroneri is much more than I was expecting given the impact in the game. But the big stat is the damage mitigated. 115,000 from Relentless One. I'm maybe banning the Herc in game 2.
Yeah, so here's the thing about that 43k. 43 is a lower number than 115. So you look at that. Relentless One's just not taking damage, man. He's just not taking damage. There's so much mitigated there. Yes, the Scorpions were stepping up. They were putting the damage through, but they weren't able to actually finish off the job. any of the times onto Relentless One. He was 5-0. He went undying, and that was the biggest problem. You're absolutely right. Game 2, get rid of the Hercules. Don't let him have that again.
That's some groundbreaking analysis right there, Spooky. 115 greater than 43, and 1 is greater than 0. They'll be going into the break with a 1-0 lead. We'll see if they can bounce back in game number 2 right on the other side of the break. Welcome back, Smite fans, to the North American SCC. We are watching the Aaru Scorpions going up against the Kaolin Wardens, and game one was a barn burner. I'm Frog. I'm still joined by Spooky Mars, and after 37 minutes, I want to say, I don't think we got all the way to 40 minutes, but
Not quite.
that was a pretty back and forth game. Felt like both teams got their share of fire giants. Both teams almost took down a Phoenix. One team obviously did successfully take down one of the Phoenixes, and they ended the game right after that, and the Callan Warden, sure enough, up 1-0.
Yeah, it was an interesting match to watch. It was constantly these teams just vying for control of the map, and it was really Relentless One who was the real push factor for the Wardens. No one from the Scorpions could stop him. No one could get through him. He was simply creating too much space. And it wasn't just in the fights; it was around the objectives in the lane. Constantly, you'd see a fight start to happen, and Relentless One just looks at further up the lane where the backup from the Scorpions is supposed to be coming in. And it's like, what if they just never got here because they were dealing with the Hercules? And
Yeah.
sure enough, they simply never got there. It was always the Wardens who would then step forward and bring the rest of the fight to the Scorpions at that point.
Well, we'll see if they can adapt in picks and bans for game number 2. I know we said sort of, as the game was ending, the immediate thought might be to ban away the Hercules, but he's been looking pretty good even after that early spill. I thought it was going to be, not a look from the soul lane, and granted, it was definitely a look from the soul lane. Relentless One did work on that Hercules, but I'm not sure it was really a symptom of Heed falling behind on the Odin. I feel like he played pretty well in those fights, had some good engagements. Maybe you're just looking for somebody that's going to do more Hercules things, and that feels like Hercules.
Yeah, it's definitely not a case of he being behind. He still did what he could. It was more a case of Relentless One had a lead, and so he was going to start rotating and doing whatever he wanted. He just couldn't actually stop him. He did everything in his power, and a few times that was actually enough to turn these fights around in their favor. And if this isn't a Hercules first pick from the Aaru Scorpions, I'm going to be pretty upset about that Rontosker ban, Frog. I'll tell you that right now. It's a Terra.
Yeah,
I'm pretty upset about the rat ban.
Anxious did a lot that game. I'm not going to say that he didn't. I think, honestly, their team fight was working out pretty successfully. It was back and forth in a lot of those fights, but the Terra is a good one to go back to. That being said, I'd be surprised if the Wardens did not prioritize maybe the Yamoja Hercules once again, but instead a completely different look, at least hovered here on our screen. The Kernos did a lot for Griff that game, so no surprise going back to it. I'm not sure necessarily first pick, but after such success with the Hercules, to switch it up and go towards the Guan Yu is a little surprising.
Yeah, you and I are both surprised by this choice here. Granted, Guan Yu does a lot of the same things that the Hercules does. He creates a lot of space. He dies very effectively. But you're now giving this Hercules over to the Scorpions as well. You can see them hovering that. Hercules doesn't have, by any means, a bad matchup into this Guan Yu. His driving strike does stun before it pushes back. So you can use that into the Kalu Assault to cancel it very effectively, and then also move the Guan Yu. I'm not 100% sure if this is just them thinking, okay, that Odin was a problem and we don't want to build a team that's going to be shut down by it again, in which case, why would you pick the Guan Yu? I think it's just the Wardens looking for some different stuff, and they do pick up the Circuit as well. So, using the mascot against the Aaru Scorpions.
Tragedy. Well, I mean, it looks like they at least have been able to read into the picks and bans relatively well. They ban away the Yamoja instead of the Guan Yu they banned in game 1, and then correctly predict that they'll go the Guan Yu over the Hercules, so they don't have to first pick it, and they get to first pick the Terra. So I think they should be relatively happy with that top 3, especially if they continue to prioritize this Turnabog, which is a little bit surprising. You're right. They did indeed draft that top 3. That's great analysis. But on the other side, interestingly enough, they do take away the mascot. I think we might be overstating that a little bit because I look at the top left of the screen and I see an image in a circle and it doesn't look like Circuit at all.
It's a Scorpion.
It's a Scorpion, but it doesn't look like Circuit.
Okay, well, what does Scorpion have? Scorpion tail.
I feel like that's reductive just a little bit. Like we
She
both
has
have
a scorpion head in mythology. She's just, and I want to correct this interpretation that you're about to hit me with. Right? It's not the head of a scorpion. It's an actual scorpion as a head. Right? She's the mascot.
I'll expose the darkness from within you.
I'll trust you. I'm not sure I fully agree, but we've got picks to analyze on the screen. After these bans coming through, Ganesh and Merlin taken off the board, as well as Thor and Hebo taken off the board, reducing some of those jungle options. And Nox picked up as a support for the Wardens, and I think that's going to allow a Bakasura here for the Scorpions, which is a similar look to the Miggy Vamana. He was looking to get in there on the back end of fights, but maybe even a little bit more effective.
Definitely a little bit more damage oriented here. Not quite as focused on I'm going to get into the fight and I'm going to be a big nuisance there. I'm going to stomp around and draw all the attention. No, this Bakasura wants to get in and absolutely just shred some health bars before they can turn around and do anything to him. Matching up with this Tiamat. Interested to see how effective this early 2v2 is actually going to be. It's better than... Is this an Opwash? I think we're being trolled by production right now. Yeah. That looks a little bit...
I think that's... Oh, no. Okay. I was going to say, I think that's the troll, because that's where we were trolled in game 1, was with the Discordia. But Opwash gets hovered, will be locking in the Discordia at the very least. Now, all 5 picks locked in for both squads. This game went to 37 minutes in game number 1, so I can bet we're getting a team fights here in game number 2. Whose team fight are you favoring?
I think you're still favoring the Wardens when you get to the team fights, just because they've got the Guan Yu, they've got the Wild Hunt, and they have this Nox to really cause a lot of disruption. In addition to that, a lot of these team fights as the game goes on, they take place in more confined areas. That's where Discordia really shines in the game. You can find multi-man strifes into the Golden Apple and really have this damage spread around alongside the poisons. This is a very good look for the Wardens. However, Scorpions are not helpless themselves. They have a lot of potential to fire damage over walls. They can have Gaijay on this Chernobog simply pushing down a lane and then ulting to rejoin things at a later time when it's more convenient for them. Could go either way, but the later the game goes, I do favor the Wardens a little bit more.
We'll have to see how the execution pans out. We're ready for game number 2. Aaru Scorpions looking to push us to 3. Kaolin Wardens looking to close it out with a clean 2-0. And as we jump in here, I cannot stop thinking about a point that we did not get to cover at all in game number 1, right? I mean, I feel like we were always almost on this point, but then the early kill happened in solo lane. We never got back to it. This duo lane, Gaijay is prioritizing this Chernobog, and I feel like that is almost out of nowhere. I haven't seen him prioritizing it. He wasn't doing it last week. This almost feels brand new.
Man, Chernobog's just a cool character, okay? You get to fire, you get to float around with your little wings, you get to fire crystals from your hands. But I think the most important part of it is that split push potential that it does bring, right? You can just sit this Chernobog over in a lane and demand a response from the Wardens. If they don't answer you, great. You get objectives for free. If they do answer you, great. Even better potentially, because then Gaijay can just rotate in and make a 5v4 fight in favor of the Scorpions. It's got a lot of flexibility, and it does pretty well with the popular builds right now. It does build crit very well. He's a hunter, so you're just going to find value from that. It may seem like it's out of nowhere, but I think it's also just a comfort pick for Gaijay. If he knows he can play it and it works well, it has a style that suits them, absolutely use it. Wow.
Yeah, dash in short fuse there will get the damage down onto Baronary, and I think that brings us towards yet another important point. We talked about the 2v2 a little bit on the desk, and we even talked about it in game number 1. It was almost an odd 2v2. We had 2 warriors in the jungle. This time around, no warriors in the jungle. It'll instead be 2 assassins, and not only that, but 2 perhaps volatile assassins. Feels like a lot of damage, a lot more damage could be coming relatively from these junglers in the first couple of minutes.
Good. I hate warrior jungles. All my homies hate warrior jungles. They're just not fun. They're not cool or interesting to look at. They're just a walk at you guys. And you could say that's the same for the assassins as well, but at least Short Fuse on this jet has a little bit more burst. I do think Miggy will be a little bit more active in the early game than Short Fuse, at least until level 5. We'll wait and see how that one goes. So another little scuffle happens over the duo lane. It's all about the shield buff these days. Who can...
Looking at Guy J, we'll be able to burn the beads there.
That's a
Horrific
big
gets
one.
popped, and they were looking for some action, and we will talk about that because Nox on Horrific is disgusting. I hate it so much. And you know what? I bet Guy J hates it a little bit as well because he is certainly feeling the effects of the pressure that Not Gino is trying to bring. We have not seen this Nox support here down at this level as much, I think, as we've seen it at the top level, but definitely the potential just for this pick to be annoying, and especially now that the beads are gone from Guy J, Not Gino can really drive the dual lane pressure here.
Yeah, similarly to Warrior Jungles, all my homies also hate Nox. Not even Nox support, just Nox in general is a really obnoxious character to face against, especially when you're something like this Terra that Anxious is piloting. I think that's the bigger problem in the dual lane, is that Terra is very reliant on comboing her abilities together. If you set up a monolith, okay, now you're going to try to dash through it. Well, no, you're not, because Not Gino has simply placed a silence down. If he's timing it very well, he places it as he dashes, and Miggy may be caught out here.
Yeah, this is fantastic positioning for Miggy. He's just in the enemy jungle and will blink away, but he's going to run right into a Guan Yu Relentless one. He's so low. Oh my goodness. I was not prepared for the Relentless one to be on the receiving end of that damage for a second. I was like, oh, he's going to attack Miggy and everything's going to go poorly for him. But no, Miggy actually responds to that. It felt like pretty perfectly, right? Position there for the blue buff on the invade. Short Fuse was once again looking for that soul lane pressure. And Miggy's just like, okay, I'm not going to fight you. I'm going to go steal the blue and your backs and your speed and then get out with my life. That feels almost impressive as an early game invade.
I mean, that's just kind of what you have to do on this Bakasura. The Eat Minion is an incredibly potent tool, especially for invades. If you're looking to really maximize the use of the Eat Minion, you're using it in the enemy jungle. You're using it on the enemy buffs. You're taking camps away with it. And you're just making sure they can't secure their own farm. Miggy is doing fantastic on this right now. Ticks over to level 5. A little bit before Short Fuse can. We do see Short Fuse hits it right now. Miggy is getting just a little bit ahead right now. Now that he's got the ultimate online, we can expect to see him start bringing this over to some of these lanes. So with the way the Wardens are pushed up on that duo, I'd expect to see that Miggy looking that way, trying to relieve some of this pressure and get some breathing room for his duo lane here.
Yeah, already Miggy has eked out a little bit of a lead, maybe half a level in this jungle role. And I think certainly as we think about the team fights, which, you know, no kills on the board, 5 minutes or so, we're already slower than we were in game number 1, as both teams seem once again willing to get to this team fight stage. But Miggy has a very different role in this game, it feels like. The Vamana, in all fairness, he built quite a bit of damage last game, so he was not as able to act as a frontliner as Short Fuse was, who was building very hybrid in that game. But now he's really just all damage. He's an assassin. He's gonna go crit. He's got true damage, right? Like, he's just bringing more damage to the table in terms of what his kit brings as an assassin, and he's a little bit more all-in focused.
Yeah, he's definitely looking more for instant picks around the fights. What you're looking to do is you're trying to find a way to bait out the beads from Griff or Peacat beads from Baronary.
Yeah, the ultimate comes through, and Short Fuse will nab the first blood. I wonder if Miggy is going to catch him, and Guy J's coming through on the ultimate as well. He will at least be able to trade it out. Short Fuse maybe should have ran the other way to get out of that tier 1 tower instead of into the enemy jungle, but at least he gets the first blood bounty and the beads off of Baron Air.
And thankfully, Guy J does also get back to the lane before he loses too much of that minion wave. Now kill on both sides here. 6.5 minutes in. Anxious playing aggressively, constantly trying to look to pressure out the Wardens here. Not sure how much success he'll actually find on this. We'll have to just walk away because there's not actually too much support there for the purple buff invade. But what it has been... Oh my goodness, that is a long stun!
Yeah, he was looking for the solo kill, and given the health bar of Relentless One, he almost found the solo kill. But that stun must have been from the cavalry charge, and he tanks 3 tower shots, and Relentless One backs right in front of him just to send the message as Short Fuse picks up the second of the game for himself. That definitely seen a little bit more action from that side lane. We saw an almost solo kill in game number 1, but once again, it's the Hercules on top of the pressure at least.
Relentless One, though, man, he is just still feeling his momentum game number 1. Sure, he was pretty low. Yes, he was the one getting aggressed on. But if you're getting dove under your tower and you still have the confidence to stun an enemy and just stand there looking at them as they take tower shots, you're probably feeling pretty good about the rest of your game here. Especially, take a look at the rest of the team here. Short Fuse, the Transcendent stacks coming online. Looking to get some scaling online quickly here. Next time will be crit. Expect a lot of burst coming out from Short Fuse in a few moments here. Likely, these teams will start looking around this goal fear around the 10-minute mark. Saw some posturing from them frequently around this Fury in game number 1. But both sides always felt a little bit uncertain about whether they wanted to actually commit to it or not. Game number 2, still an even game state, very similar to what we were looking at in game 1. Short Fuse getting active.
Anxious, maybe the one caught out here,
Oh
trapped by the Shadow Lock, and does not get to play the game. Griff will pick up that one, the 3rd kill now for the Wardens. But look at Miggy on the backside. Will rotate around and at least try and catch him, but he gets caught by the Shadow Lock as well, forced to use the Regurgitate just for the CC immunity. And a blink! He gets away, but Panda Cat will hit him with the apple and cleans up yet another one. Both teams just roaming, looking for these picks, and so far, the Wardens have gotten the better end of it almost every time.
Very surprised we don't see the Wardens just go for the Gold Fury after that. After they pick Anxious, I'm expecting them to look towards it. Okay, Mickey steps forward, yeah, go ahead and look at him first, try to kill him. Once you've accomplished that, I mean, he's down for a little bit of time. That is the moment where the Wardens could look for that Fury, but with Anxious being back on the board, likely a little bit of hesitation there. They don't really want to walk in to a Terra ult around an objective, because that's one way to quickly have a fight turned around on you. Given how many ultimates were expended putting Mickey down, understandable that they want to try to slow things down a little bit. They do still lag slightly behind in the gold department, but not enough for it to be a major concern to them. Mickey's just been very effective on these invades, constantly stripping the gold away from Short Fuse. That's where really the difference lies in this game right now.
Yeah, I mean, talk to me about Short Fuse here. One thing I'm interested in is specifically how you're looking to play with these new changes on Circuit. Are you going hybrid like you did on the Gilgamesh and being a facilitator, or is it just raw damage now?
I think Short Fuse is absolutely just looking to burst someone down. Get your crit online, get a lot of damage. Depending on how the game is going, once you have that crit online for yourself, you can start considering a tankier build if you're taking too much and you're not effectively diving this backline. But Wardens, with this Fury.
Yeah, they're on it, and Scorpions just take it away. They don't even, it's just the little bit of damage that walks in and steals that one. 211 damage, but the fight after the fact is going the way of the Wardens. They'll take down Anxious, and Guy J's forced into the Living Nightmare, but Relentless One is put on the juke boots, and Heat is on the other side of the fight, taking down 2. The carries fall, make it 3, as all the damage dealers find 1 under their belt, and they'll take down a couple members of the Wardens as well as steal away the Gold Fury. What an explosion from the Scorpions.
Man, I hate using this term so early in the game. We're only 11.5 minutes in, but honestly, catastrophic for the Wardens there. The fact that they lose the Gold Fury to, what was it? Was that damage from Guy J and Anxious just walking up and punching it? Like, that's ridiculous. Not only did they lose the objective, They dropped 3 kills on that, just hand them over to the Scorpions. Now, what was an even game is very much in favor of the Scorpions. 3K
He
up,
gets it.
and they are feeling it.
Oh my goodness, he'd maybe shades of Relentless One at 12 minutes in. He's just trying to stack that damage mitigated. Meanwhile, though, his team is stacking up that gold lead. They grab the other neutral objective on the other side of the map, the Pyromancer. Now they've got a runic bomb in their pocket as well. And all of a sudden, right, the Aaru Scorpions just walked in and autoed the Gold Fury, and that just like flipped a switch. It didn't even feel like they had to get the Gold Fury either. They were on the front foot of that fight, it felt like, the whole time.
Yeah, it's an odd position right now because the Scorpions, it's like you said, they weren't on the back foot by any means. They were slightly ahead in gold because of the invades Mickey's been doing. And they're just feeling confident right now. They know the state of the game is that they're even. They can take these fights. If you see a team on an objective tanking the damage from that objective, why not walk in? They saw Not Gino had already dropped the Shadowlock combo, knew they weren't in too much danger there. They were really just given a free pass into it. Now,
who's in danger on this right-hand side? I spoke way too soon. He did not even drop below 80% HP. He does get the beads burn though, and Shortfuse actually surprised me walking into lane.
Whoa.
Wow, that actually did a lot more damage than I was expecting, but I guess I shouldn't be surprised. We've seen the Hercules do Hercules things, and once again, that 4-man rotation from the Kaolin Wardens, he's just making space. He doesn't even have to die for it this time. They'll pick up the tier 1 tower in mid for free.
Yeah, right now the Scorpions are just using their lead very effectively. In game 1, this was a very even match, right? Wardens would take the lead, but it was always the Scorpions fighting back very tenaciously. But they were never able to fully secure themselves a good foothold in the game. Now they have, and now we're seeing what they do with that. It is pure aggression. They're trying to leverage this advantage as much as they can, and they're doing a good job of it right now. Sure, they haven't extended it significantly since they achieved it, but that's simply because they already got the objectives. Now we're starting to look at the Fury again. It's just moments away, about 20 seconds off of respawning. This is an Oni Fury that's going to be coming up, Frog. This one will have a little bit more of an impact on the map itself for whoever decides to go ahead and grab that one. If the Scorpions get a hold of it, utilize this 3K lead, they can pretty easily take some of these tier 2s down. The Wardens are able to fight back and actually push the Scorpions back. Should get them back to a more neutral standpoint. We'll have to see how it's approached here.
Vision is gained by the Oracles there for the Scorpions, so sure enough, they're going to be the ones to start it already. Down to half HP, this double crit coming through for some major shred on that objective, but they've got to be careful. Miggy gets poked out early, and Relentless One by himself
oh my goodness.
is chasing down the jungler. Shortfuse finally joins him for the first kill, going over to the Wardens, and Baronary maybe next on the chopping block. The peel comes through, is perfect, and will take down Shortfuse, but Relentless One at least finds another answer back. A 2 for 2 as he's chasing down Panda Cat under the tier 2 tower. Is fighting in his own right, finds himself a 1v1 and makes it a 3v3 of remaining members in the map.
Matt, what a wild game. Frog, I hate Hercules. Matt, what is this guy doing? Look, he's still at it. He is still just walking at the Wardens because he just knows that he can. Who's going to stop him, huh? Not Gino? I don't think so. Griff? He's going to try, but frankly, there's just so much displacement. Look at this.
Yeah,
it's a crime.
Panda Cat certainly did not have a chance of stopping him here in that mid lane, but if everybody groups up, they can at least get him down to half HP and maybe more. Cavalry charge already is back off cooldown, and he gets to heal at the perfect time, and Griff has got to hit the autos. He misses 3 out of 4, but the 5th one does it. And the grouping now, though, that gives Guy J a chance to answer back. He'll take down Not Gino, and it's now a grouping here once again from the Scorpions off respawn. But look at Miggy. Look at Miggy's positioning. He's going to loop around all of them here, and I don't think they know that he's there. Shortfuse is just there for the positioning, and they'll pull off the Gold Fury just because of the risk of not seeing Miggy on the map. Everything stays silent for at least the next minute.
Yeah, by the way, Blinkage, you miss it. While Heed was just distracting 5 people from the Wardens, Miggy went ahead and took the Pyromancer down for his team as well. So that's one more objective for the Scorpions. Now 2 Runic Bombs in their pockets. Miggy leading in levels. 2 over Short Fuse. Wise of the Wardens probably to back off from that Oni Fury. But it does mean that they have to look at it again. They're going to have to do this song and dance at least one more time. Scorpions are here. They're in position to contest.
This time they're here before the Hercules, critically trying to shut this one down, and they will get it done before the solo laner shows up. And I think they're going to want to get out of here before he shows up as well, but I'm not sure that's going to be in the cards. Both tanks push forward, and not Gino's the first one under fire. The cavalry charge comes out. The Living Nightmare has Guy J join the fight as well, but not Gino's just taking the time away, and Baroneri has jumped in aggressively. But look at Griff, he's isolated himself. Miggy as well in the front line takes down Short Fuse, and a 2-man push-pull combo has Heed forcing his way under the tier 2 tower. They've got the minion wave as well, and the Runic Bombs take it down. They've lost the Gold Fury, but they've gotten themselves a pick and a tower, and this may be a window for the Fire Giant.
Matt Frog, I'm just going to say it right here, right now. Warden should have just snap-locked that Hercules. This guy is just doing so much work. Now to the Fire Giant, as you've said, Scorpions have so much space that they can be just creating. Because look where Heed is. He's so far forward. Gino's not going to be enough to steal this away. If they don't even kill Heed here, okay.
Thank goodness they killed Heed at the very least, and he made enough space for the Fire Giant to get taken down. And I think the Aaru Scorpions smartly want to get out of here with their buff on the waist of as many people as possible. But Relentless One is relentless under the tier 2 tower. They've caught all 3 members here at below half HP, and not Gino picks up the first. That's the ADC without Fire Giant as well. But Relentless One has separated himself for the rest of the team, and he'll get taken down as well. They're at least able to trade one back, but now 2 members lose that Fire Giant. The Scorpions looking to push back up the lane.
Very worthwhile from the Wardens. Maybe Relentless One didn't really have to die there. He was a little bit isolated from the rest of his team, dove a little bit further than the rest of them were willing to really step up to. But at the end of the day, Scorpions lost 2 of their Fire Giants, as you
Look
mentioned.
at this wraparound. Look at this wraparound from Heed. He's just found Short Fuse. The ultimate beautifully to dodge the earthquake. But this is what he wanted to do. He makes the space for his team to take down the tier 2 tower. So at the very least, you trade the 1 kill. But because Anxious fell as well, that could have been such a big play. I think that chase from Heed is just too far.
Yeah, it seems to be a tale of the solo laners just maybe taking a little bit too big of a bite from the other side here. I understand why they're doing it. Yeah, let's get over to the damage mitigated, see just how much Heat has been doing there. I would be surprised if it's under 30,000 there right now, almost 31. Not quite the numbers that Relentless One was putting up, but that's also the first time that Heat's really stepped quite that far forward as well. Has a few more deaths to his name, but all in all, doing his job pretty effectively. Unfortunate for the Scorpions that they weren't able to secure that tier 2 tower with all the space that Heat was creating there. There needs to be a little bit more coordination there, I'd say, from the Scorpions. We can't see Heat under a Phoenix being swarmed by 3 people, and then the rest of the Scorpions are just kind of afraid of the tier 2 tower. Yes, Anxious did die, but at that point, you know, you've got 3 people on 1 tank. You can alternate that tower aggro pretty effectively. You've got 2 people with range. Miggy probably doesn't want to eat too many of those tower shots. This Fury coming up now. Frog, this is where things are really do or die for both sides. Wars have plenty of fight back, and they do it here with a 4K deficit.
This is where things exploded early on for the Scorpions. They were able to take that initial 3,000 gold lead, which has not grown significantly since then, but he doesn't want to wait for me to finish my point. He just wants to get in there, and Miggy's helping out as well. He finds Regurgitate on 3 and picks up 2 of them, a double kill for the jungler, and Guy J is in on the front line. Their carries are diving, and Panda Cat finds himself trapped in the purple buff. They'll take down 3 in the blink of an eye, and it's only the tanks that are left standing, and not Gino may not be standing for much longer under this tier 2 tower. Pede is chasing down Relentless One. This may just be the game. They've got a minion wave. They have 8 seconds on short fuse here before the respawn. They have to try and make this count. The minion wave is going to come with them into the Titan room. It's only going to be short fuse here to try and defend, and they think better of it. They back down, they take the Phoenix, and they'll go for the better objective, the Gold Fury in the cards now.
Yeah, they're going to have to get their way through Relentless One, though, because, by the way, he's still back here through all that time. Only a reset from the Scorpions. What a fight. The fact that they were able to catch Short Fuse and Griff right at the start there. I mean, Short Fuse died, but Ogriff was literally a half health by Baronary. Niggas found perfect follow-up. Warden's going to be a lot more careful about this Regurgitate. The cripple field is so strong in these late game team fights, because 1 second that you don't have that dash available to you is 1 second in which the burst is going to come through. Now Scorpions want this Fire Giant. They're in position around it. Still not going to be given up for free. Have extended their lead just a little bit more after taking the Phoenix and really the entirety of that left side. Go Fury still stands, though. Potential place for Guy J to go to for ulting back over to this Fire Giant. It looks like just going to be the Scorpions grouped up in full for now.
Patience is going to be key here, and I'm wrong. They were going to wait for somebody to show up in the left side, but Short Fuse does it. He just shows up on the left side, so now they know it's a 5v4, but Miggy has been focused down on the right side. He's a big part of their shred, and they have to jump off the Fire Giant as soon as Relentless One hops on the horse. Cavalry Charge pushes all 4 members on the EFG there, or rather just the FG, not 30 minutes in quite yet, but look at the transform here from Guy J. Living Nightmare slows down everybody, and Bandit Cat gets deleted off the map. Not Gino is trapped out in the front line as well, and does not have the Shadow Step available until later on, but it'll save him under the tier 2 tower, and Relentless One is still full HP under this. Meanwhile, Short Fuse has pushed the wave all the way up to the tier 2 tower. They haven't made advantage of this play at all.
This has to be the Fire Giant call from the Scorpions right now. They do fall back to it. Guy J is here. Miggy is here. They have the shred. Warden's still looking for a way in. Relentless One has the Cavalry Charge. 25%. He's looking for it.
He's on the way. He's going to try and steal it away. And the Scorpions secure it, but Relentless One takes one with him at the very least. Guy J on a killing spree picks up the last hit onto the Soul Laner. Meanwhile, Heed is continuing to make what feels like an infinite amount of space under this tier 2 tower. Just wants to box Griff and Gino. And now that they've got this FG and a minion wave, they'll waste no time in pushing down this right side Phoenix. Applet escort onto Miggy will delay things just for a little bit. And that blink in from Short Fuse, though, as Heed gets his dash canceled and will get taken out by Griff. But that is a small price to pay for yet another bird.
Massive strife there coming out from Panda Cat. Hit 3 people on that one. Turn them all onto each other. Do end up losing that bird, as you mentioned. Could have been a lot worse, though. Without that strife, probably looking at the Scorpions pushing a little bit further. Looking for an end call, but the Wardens able to hold on a little bit longer. They dig their heels in deep. Come out still alive. Battered, bruised, scratched, and bleeding. But certainly gloriously very much alive for the time being. Still a tough situation for them to be in, make no mistake. 8,000 gold is the deficit here. Only 1 kill off, but those kills don't do much to really separate that gold right now. Go Fury, still alive, another objective that the Scorpions can look at to try to burn away. The Wardens aren't likely to step up to this Fury either. Right now, the deficit is just a little bit too high to warrant fighting into one of those not unimportant, but less important objectives. At this point in the game, you're fighting over Oni Furies. You're fighting over Primal Furies. You're not fighting for this Gold Fury, but where the Scorpions are here, Frog, they're looking to fight over a bird.
Yeah, no question about it. I don't know if you caught it. He picked up the speed buff and then backed and is now teleporting over, I think, to this one, but they won't even wait for him to get there. They'll just walk in, and the Phoenix is on its last legs. They don't get it just yet, but they will burn a couple of ultimates in the process. But Relentless One gets a double stun, and the ultimate combo is beautiful. Anxious gets taken down before anybody falls on the members of the Wardens, and Not Gino is making some space in the front line, allowing him to recreate, but Guy J burns him down, and the Phoenix may be next to be burned down, but Guy J is focused on short fuse instead. The rest of his team will help clean up the left side. Bird, a 1-for-1, all of the action for Not. They'll just trade supports and get on out of there.
This could have gone so much better for both sides here, Frog. If the Scorpions simply wait for Heed to finish his teleport and get into this fight to start things off, they probably take that Phoenix in the first push. They don't have to disengage from that point. Instead, they're a little bit impatient. They rush in. Anxious takes the brunt of that damage, gets taken off the board. Suddenly, the Scorpion's on the back foot. He does his part in just buying so much time for his team by just walking at the Wardens. And if Gino had been on that Phoenix instead of up in the middle of 4 Scorpions, he's probably alive. And they probably do take Heed down by just virtue of the silences. However, Gino was trying to make sure that the rest of the Scorpions wouldn't simply walk in and finish that Phoenix off. That's why he was taking the fight outside into the lane. At the end of the day, it was too low for that really being much of a factor. They just burn him down, step forward. He can't be killed fast enough by the Wardens. Phoenix goes down. Now we're looking at this next Fire Giant. And this one is likely to push into that enhanced territory, Frog. We're 29 minutes in now. Fire Giant just respawns. Wouldn't be surprised if these teams decide to wait just a minute longer to get that extra boost.
Yeah, we've definitely seen some long Fire Giant dances, especially in game number 1, and we're still 10 minutes out or so before the ending of that game number 1. So this is not, doesn't have to be the last Fire Giant either. Both teams able to fight back into this one, but Scorpions have amassed about a 10,000 gold lead, closer to 9,000 as I say that, but they're not going to waste any time. Fire Giant gets picked up, and only 1 damage dealer on it right now, but Guy J does not need anybody else to shred that one down. It'll get dropped to 50% HP, and that'll open up the window for an engage potentially as he looks for the carries. He feels like he's alone in the backline, just pushing away as Relentless One forces the rest of the team back. A great push-pull brings in the solo laner back to the team, but it has to be a reset. All 5 members still here for both squads.
Dorfuse actually resetting, has to deal with the Salamanders and the Fire Minions on the left side of the map here. This is a 5v4 in favor of the Scorpions. Take a Pyromancer, Runic Bomb now in the inventory. And they are still looking for this Fire Giant. They're still looking to take this one down. It's all on the Wardens to answer.
They saw short fuse back, and the Fire Giant is not, there's no space. Nobody is here. They'll just let the EFG go down. They're relying on their ability to defend, and it doesn't look like the Scorpions want to wait at all. The boulder just barely. Panda Cat is living on single-digit HP, but it's not long for this world. Baronary jumps in and finishes off that one. Short fuse in the front line. Well, about Griff take down the mid laner. It's a 1-for-1 trade so far, but they'll take down the bird at the very least. They shift over towards mid and continuing the siege.
Now look at this bird burn down. Guy J eats the shadow, but he's still looking pretty good. Bird falls. Wardens try to find something.
Fight still in the front of the RGT comes back off cooldown. Miggy takes down Griff. He takes down Gino. And all of a sudden, the one ultimate comes back off cooldown. Miggy makes the hero play. They'll dug down all 3 Phoenixes and the Titan and push us to game 3.
What a fight coming from the Aaru Scorpions. I gotta say, Frog, when you look at these two teams and you look at both their performances with a lead, the Scorpions look better at utilizing that than the Wardens did. It was a very close game all throughout the first game here. Second game, still close, make no mistake, but it was constantly the Scorpions making the plays. They were stepping forward. They were the ones challenging the Wardens and demanding an answer back. Not sure why Short Fuse decided to go so far up that left side towards the end there. But that was the call that was made. And then, unfortunately for them, it does mean that the Warden simply had no way past the front line from the Scorpions. He'd simply put up a brick wall, and the brick wall was named Hercules.
Yeah, Hercules undefeated here, 2-0 so far in this set at the very least. I'm interested to see the damage mitigated. Not quite up at the 115,000 that Relentless one was able to boast about, but I mean, one thing was clear to me was as much as the Hercules was in the front line, the Aaru Scorpions found their footing with this style of composition. You think about a dive composition, you think about Hercules and Miggy on the Bakasura being in the front line. They were in the front line. They were doing their job. But Baroneri was jumping in. Guy J was living nightmaring into the enemy backline. Like all 5 of them had the word dive written down and on a post-it note on their monitor, constantly being followed in those fights. They really found that style. It worked for them.
Yeah, there just wasn't really any pushback from the Wardens. Yes, they had their knocks, and yes, knocks can drop a big silence area, but that's really best if, you're being dove by one person or 2 people. You're not being dove by just a couple people in these fights. You're being dove by all 5 members of the Scorpions. And there simply was not enough peel from the side of the Wardens to push them back. There wasn't enough space to be created. Their backline simply had no way to breathe, had no way to output their damage. And even when they were alive at the end, or even when they limped away, those TKOs are still good enough to get the Scorpions plenty of time on the map.
Well, they push us to a game number 3. I'm sure both teams are asking questions about what to bring to the table for this draft, and we'll give them time to do so. Stick around. The other side of this break, we'll bring you game number 3.
Tension rising, but no part of it. Nice to meet ya, been called a misfit. No need to fake it, we all got some shit. Yeah, you check for my vitals, think I need revival. Broken down and fading, my heart keeps breaking.
Welcome back, Smite fans, to the Smite Challenger Circuit. We are on the North American side of things. Aaru Scorpions going up against the Kaolin Wardens. And if you're just joining us, love that from me. We are locked in for a big deciding game number 3 to close out the weekend, and I'm looking forward to it. My name's Frog, still joined by Spooky Mars. And Spooky, that game wasn't as long as the first, but arguably more decisive. The Scorpions used their lead really well.
Very decisive was that game. I mean, you've pretty much summed it up perfectly. The Scorpions knew how they wanted to play that game. They got themselves a lead, and they utilized it very effectively. The Wardens had some really good fight back, but they never seemed like they were on the same page, Frog. They seemed uncoordinated. They were constantly stepping up with too few members, short fuse on some other part of the map, and there just wasn't really any good real fight back potential towards the end. They were simply kind of getting walked at by the front line. They have to do something different. Whether they want to ban this Hercules way or pick it back up for themselves, put it on Relentless One, really, I think that was their key to victory in game 1. Have to wait and see.
Well, they'll get a chance to adapt here for game number 3, picks and bans. We're going to jump right in, and I'm interested to see right off the bat, sure enough, yep, the Wardens lose, and they take pick number 1. The Aaru Scorpions came in both game number 1 and game number 2. They had that first pick slot, and they're able to make their draft work in game number 2, but I wonder how this is going to change the picks and bans now that the Wardens have the priority.
It's going to be an interesting one to see. We haven't really seen, like you said, the Wardens have any real priority towards some of these top picks. We saw them go for that Yamoja and the Hercules in game 1. Well, game 2, the Yamoja gets banned away. They decide to go for that Guan Yu instead. That was their first real priority pick. Didn't really go the way they wanted it to. So they have the opportunity now to switch things up a little bit. Do they try to go back for that Yamoja? Do they force the Scorpions to ban it away? Firstly, I think I've already made my stance pretty clear here, Frog. I want to see them go back to that Hercules because it just looked fantastic in both games. If it's going to look that good, you might as well have it on your side.
Well, they have to go in the complete opposite direction and actually take it away from both teams. Relentless One just relying on his ability to be the better soul laner regardless of pick, and I guess I can't blame him for having that mindset. They also take away Miggy's Bak Asura as well. I don't know why I pronounced it like that, but I really enjoyed putting the emphasis on the Bak Asura. We won't see it this game, though. This time, instead, we'll see the Aphrodite banned away in games 1 and game 2. The Warden's first pick it here in game number 3.
I really think you should put the emphasis somewhere else in that. I think you should call it the Baka Sura. I think that would really work a little bit better. Anyway, Aphrodite, hate to see it, love to see it.
You could be a skin in the game of Smite. You know that, Spooky? You could
think
voice
so?
you could voice a ton of skins. It would be fantastic. The comedic value is just unheard of. And I know you want to talk about this Aphrodite, and I'll let you talk about this Aphrodite.
I don't.
Get me wrong. Then in that case, talk to me about the Guan Yu here. Now prioritize for the Aaru Scorpions. They can't get the Hercules. They've got to go back to a top solo lane pick. Guan Yu next on the list.
I think this Guan Yu looks fantastic. I mean, we've seen it now in 2 out of 3 games. It did look good in Relentless One's hands. Didn't have the same impact that Hercules had. With that not being an option, this is a really good second option here for you. Guan Yu creates a lot of space, offers a lot of sustain to the team. And if you're looking for dive, well, Gaiji's going back to this Chernobog. You can pretty easily ult in after a cavalry charge and lend yourself that same play style here, especially if you're taking this Circuit as well.
Oh man,
lots of dive coming out of Aaru Scorpions. And now Frog, they have their mascot.
The Aaru Scorpions have drafted the Scorpion, and as much as I like the composition coming out from them, I am almost worried for the Wardens draft. Like I'm worried if I'm facing in to the Wardens draft. It looks really good, not only because those are all really good characters, but also because all of these have been previously banned away. They don't pick Afro because it gets banned in 1 and 2. Merlin and Ratatoskr have both gotten banned in previous iterations, and they really wanted those picks this time, so they take them before the second ban phase. These screams to me, they're looking for comfort, they're looking for some of their signature picks, and they get them in the top 3.
Yeah, look, if you've seen Short Fuse play, odds are you've seen him on Ratatoskr. This is a comfort pick for him. He likes the character. He does well on the god. Put it in his hands. You know what you're going to get here. However, the question is, how effectively can it be used? Because the problem is, you're not Ratatoskr ulting in and being attached to this Aphrodite. Likely, she's going to be connected to one of these backliners, or perhaps solo laner, whichever Relentless one decides to take. And I'm really happy that Hercules is banned if there's going to be an Aphrodite here. Can you imagine trying to kill that? That sounds like a miserable experience. It's not the worst draft to face in the world, though. The Wardens certainly have strong picks on their side. They've got some good area damage with this Merlin, but it takes time to get there. The idea is that they'll use Ratatoskr's early game and this Aphrodite to kind of keep their backliners alive and allow them to scale up. But against the dive from the Scorpions, we've seen how effective that is. I'm not convinced that the Aaru Scorpions will actually allow the Wardens the time they need to reach this late game point.
Yeah, I mean, the last couple of picks in this draft are, I think, especially interesting. They ban out a couple of hunters from the Aaru Scorpions. They don't want to go back to that top 2 of Kernos Ishtar, and Jingwei, sure enough, is almost immediately the lock-in. But I'm more interested in this last pick for the Scorpions. It will be the Giannis. And Giannis and Bacchus comboing as the last 2, that feels like a completely different look from what we've seen in either of the first 2 games from the Scorpions.
It may feel like it, but I think this still plays pretty well into what the Scorpions want to do, right? If you want to dive into a team, what better way is there than simply walking through the wall that was previously separating them from your team? This enables a lot of shenanigans from the Scorpions. I'm actually a little bit concerned for the Wardens. If they're allowed to make their own game plan, the Scorpions could absolutely run away with the sheer aggression that they had in game number 2.
Well, we won't have to wait any longer to see the continuation of this set. Game number 3 ready on the horizon. Kaolin Wardens, Aaru Scorpions, both of these squads looking to finish out week 3 with a win. One of them will be 2-1. One of them will be 1-2 at the end of this game. Surely we'll see. Okay, already off the bat, do you see what I see, Spooky? Do you see what if you look at the gods, do you see what I see?
This is a little bit of a surprise to me. I'm not expecting Relentless One to be on the Ratatoskr here.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it.
I don't like it as much as the other way around, quite frankly. I mean, assuming it was Gilgamesh in the solo lane, piloted by Relentless One, it's a pretty decent matchup. It doesn't cancel out the Talu Assault, but you're still really not too concerned. You can still survive that lane fairly effectively. Ratatoskr does have the stun, but does he have the survivability already? Getting out-traded by Heat there in the solo lane. And this means that you're not going to have this frontliner attached to the Aphrodite. Likely, we'll see Nachino attached to Short Fuse instead to help facilitate that dive later on. But I don't know, I think that by putting this Ratatoskr here, you've given up some of that early pressure that you could have had from the jungle, and thus you're going to make it a little bit harder for yourselves to scale up.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, especially given the fact that there were still a couple of other notable solo lane picks on the board. Vamana, well, I would consider a top 3 solo laner, not picked, not banned here in game number 3. Could have easily been gone to for Relentless One, but I also have seen Relentless One on this Ratatosker before, and he has made a great something we haven't seen really in game 1 or game 2, right past maybe 10 minutes or 15 minutes when we really start into those fights. These solo laners have been pretty focused on just being in that right-hand lane. I'm purposefully ignoring this horrific on the left-hand side because I dislike it. But I won't ignore the damn...
Oh.
Just dodging out the unstable vortex from Baronary. Panda Cat and Short Fuse narrowly able to stay alive in that mid lane, and low health bars across the board. We've missed, I think, almost first bloods in all 3 lanes.
Well, we've missed almost first bloods, Frog. So therefore, have we missed anything really? No, the answer is no, Frog. So it's a lot of scrapping, it's a lot of fighting, but so far neither team has really gotten one over. Now this is a very similar look to what we've seen the first 2 games. The difference right now is that we're seeing some squishier characters. This Ratatosker doesn't have the same warrior stats, doesn't have the same bulk, doesn't have the same sustain that things like the Hercules had and Guan Yu. So he's a little bit easier to take down a little bit lower, but he does have a little bit more mobility. So while he's losing a lot of health, he's able to retreat fairly effectively. The question is, can they get their own blue buff?
Time it's the pressure there from Heat. He'll be kicked back into the wall, and it's immediately the turnaround. The Wardens were the ones under pressure, but they are looking to find the first blood. The rotation over, and the blink from Short Fuse catches me off guard as well, and it catches Miggy off guard indeed. The first blood over to the Wardens.
Excellent. Excellent blink coming out there. He avoided the unstable vortex entirely. Miggy simply had nowhere to go after that one. And it's just kind of invades across the board here. Anxious trying to put the pressure onto this purple buff. Not likely to get it thanks to the way that these camps can now be leashed back towards the tower. It's a little bit too risky to step that far forward. Goodness me, Frog. But still, Wardens collect their first blood bounty up a little bit. It's not really a big enough lead for anyone to be super stoked about, especially the way these games have gone over the past 2. Haven't seen the Wardens really able to extend these leads very far at all. We've seen, I think, 3,000 was the biggest in this match so far on their end. Scorpions have plenty of time to pull this one back. The way that they play, they're looking for aggression. They've got plenty of avenues for it. You might not be looking to take Griff down completely. At the very least, you can look to force this duo lane back, get a TKO. Not quite as effective as it would be on someone like the Kernanos, thanks to Jingwei's passive, just getting her back to the lanes faster. They've got places they can play through. Keep an eye on the map here. You can see Short Fuse maybe looking for something.
Wrapping around in the duo lane, but ultimately, I think, hesitating because Gaija and Anxious have no desire to push up on this lane. Short Fuse may have walked over a ward there. In fact, did walk over a ward on that left-hand side. And sure enough, outside of that small first blood, I think predictable as we've seen in the last couple of games, not a ton of action. And this time, as opposed to it just being warrior jungles or just being assassin jungles, seen jungles that we've seen before. This time, though, Miggy on, I think, the most different look that he's looked so far. Had the Vamana, had the Bakasura, both auto attack focused. This one, a more slippery character to be sure. It's a new look on the Circuit, I think, in these fights.
Yeah, apparently just respecting Short Fuse's performance on it a little bit. Goes ahead and just takes that away, acts as almost a 4th ban, taking one of those comforts away from the Wardens. Now they're trying to see what exactly they can do with that. You can see he's rotating around the map. He's looked at a couple different places trying to find some kind of opportunity, but so far it's been all quiet on the Western Front. They haven't been able to find any gank opportunities just yet. Miggy instead is just going to have to try to scale up. And notably, Miggy's also gone for a slightly different build than Short Fuse did in that second game on the Circuit. Rather than going for the Transcendence, he's instead gone the Jotuns. He's trying to get a little bit more active with that extra CDR. Ganking is the game plan here, rather than just the power farming that Short Fuse was doing. He hasn't found anywhere to do it, and Anxious, out of position, might be in a bad spot.
Yeah, they're going to chase him. Short Fuse, good portal there, though, from Marinari. Will at least keep him alive, although I think just from how almost he does not get away, you see they did have the damage. That portal may have just saved his life there at the last second. I think interestingly enough, right, you see Anxious try and forcing these plays, but it's a very different playstyle. Hold that thought though. Relentless One instantly canceled. Oh my goodness! He turns things around. The instinct cavalry charge will not be enough to do it. And Relentless finds the double stun into the whirlwind and will take down the kill in the 1v2.
Yeah, that's very impressive coming out from Relentless One there. Short fuse, maybe look for the dive. Gets spotted though, not able to confirm that one. Instead has to limp back to base. Not to base, but just going to go ahead and farm up a little bit here. Try to mitigate the XP losses that Relentless One's going to take from having to be forced out there. Was through the Cosmos used by Relentless One. Tried to confirm the kill, wasn't able to do so. It's one less tool available to the Wardens now. So far, they've done a good job of controlling this game. Up 2 kills. Gold lead, not really significant at this point. The Wardens are playing like this right now. Oh, boy.
Oh, my goodness. Now. The amount of damage that comes out in just an instant there. Bonded to the Jingwei. That was... I think Griff was surprised by that one, undoubtedly. But I think definitely shades of how you have to be playing differently and how Guy J is maybe experiencing a lot more pressure in this lane compared to the Chernobog Cernos matchup we've seen in the last 2 games. Now you've got the Jingwei, which will certainly be a powerhouse later in the game, but Guy J feels a little bit more freedom to, I think, have the pressure in this lane and maybe even looking to rotate a little bit earlier on as a result.
Definitely has a slight advantage, at least in the one-on-ones. Once he's got some crit online, you can see he's just gone ahead and picked up that short sword, or hidden dagger. I'm so sorry.
Woo.
It's a completely different item. Short sword is indeed the second one up there. But he's going for that crit, trying to get some of it online. Meanwhile, a little scuffle over here on this right side. 3-man rotation.
Miggy's here as well. Cavalry charge will get channeled out, and Anxious is on the way. We'll make it a 3v3 if they want to continue the fight. Oh, just barely
unlucky.
Off the mark on the what could have been a double through space and time there onto the tanks. But for all the pressure over here on the right-hand side, the blue buff will just be secured by the jungler for the Kaolin Wardens, and they'll walk away clean.
This is what you're looking for the Wardens. You found yourself some early pressure. You're not looking to really force too much off of it, though. You have a scaling team. If you just give yourself the tools, if you give this Merlin the tools and Griff the time to get their builds online, you are going to be winning in the late game here. The question is, can they get there? Scorpions look for another one.
Blink in from short fuse, traps in 2, but they both are able to get out of there. And now it's Panda Cat who gets turned around on. The poison spreads onto short fuse as well, and he'll have to run away from that one. The living nightmare catches Panda Cat off guard, and that's what we can see from those ADC rotations. They'll grab one for free.
You gotta be watching for those. Guy J has shown no hesitancy to use this ultimate aggressively, and Griff
wrong way,
forced into the air.
He's gone aggressively, and now he has Gino for support at the very least. I gave that a little bit too much energy. I thought he might be surrounded by all 3 of the members there, but Griff using the ultimate now will not have that safety tool, and that, in addition to some other ultimates being down, may open up a window for this Gold Fury in the near future.
Yeah, right now, this game is dead even, right? You see a couple XP leads here and there, but overall, they kind of wash each other out. Gold ever so slightly in favor of the Scorpions, just getting a little bit more farm, a little bit faster. Still hasn't been enough to really give themselves any kind of edge, but this Pyromancer being started up could be a nice little pickup for the Wardens. Indeed, Scorpions had no idea that it was being done. Runic Bomb gets left behind. What more do we expect?
I hope Short Fuse maybe walks back up there and we'll pick it up. I think not Gino will actually be the one to do so, but they do find a small window, and I think no surprise that that's how the window gets found, as the beads get burned, and Relentless One may be the victim of a solo kill if he'd has anything to say about it, but good dash out there will keep the Ratatoskr alive, and Miggy was on his way over, but he'll be forced to back off as well. I think that's no surprise that that's how the Pyromancer comes about, right? Both of these teams, especially game 3, all of it on the line, both teams want to take home this win, and you know, they don't want to fight if they don't have to necessarily. If they can find a free objective, it's likely from both teams they'll take the free objective, and maybe that's what they're waiting for, just for them to make the first mistake. And certainly it feels like maybe they've found the window now onto the Gold Fury as well.
Got the Rune Bomb for extra secure if they need it. They have to keep an eye out for Baronary. Doesn't have to use space and time, is all the way back in base. Wardens are pushing forward.
Scorpius jumps in, and Anxious is the target there. Panda Cat with a huge chunk of damage takes down the support, but Miggy with the blink in forces Short Fuse back at the very least. Guy J. Ooh, the jump is beautiful to dodge out the through space and time, but it leaves Panda Cat at an island, and the mid laner will fall as a result. A 1-for-1 support for mid, and it's Aaru Scorpions have gotten the better of the trade.
They got the better end of the trade, but what are they doing with it? They're not capitalizing just yet. Only just now are they drifting towards this Gold Fury. IJ and Nachino do decide to come over. So all is well in the world. Get yourselves a fight. Get yourselves the objective, because that's what you're fighting over. Now, Scorpions have a little bit of a stronger lead. Not significant still. Somehow, despite everything that's happened, Frog, neither team has found themselves an actual advantage. It's this constant back and forth. Frankly, I'm seeing shades of game number 1 here. And it's really up to the Wardens to maintain this game state. If they allow the Scorpions to find an actual lead, we've seen what they can and will do with it. The Wardens playing a tight game right now, but so far they're balancing it about as well as they need to. Have to see how things scale up from here. Pyromancer likely the next objective to be looked at. But until then, they've got some time to play with.
Now, my eyes immediately, I think, go towards the mid lane, right? Not only have we seen a couple impactful through space and times here already from Baronary, but we've also seen Merlin getting involved. This was banned away from Panda Cat in games 1 and 2. So a new mid matchup and chances for both of these players to really start to get involved. And so naturally, I think I'm interested in the differences in what they're looking to do in fights, and especially their builds off the bat so far. Panda Cat gets poked out just a little bit, but nothing will come of it. But like I'm looking at these builds and I'm seeing the differences. You get the cooldown on the board immediately for Giannis. Panda Cat's going more for that damage. What is the difference in what these mid laners are doing in fights?
It's the difference in the kit, really. Baronary has a singular non-ultimate damaging ability. It's the Unstable Vortex. You're looking to use it as frequently as possible. You're looking to use it to pretty much one-shot someone. And the only effective way to use Unstable Vortex is by using the rest of your kit in tandem with it. You're trying to find your way through these walls, using the portals to make your way through the map and find a good backdoor into a fight. Janus really plays more like a magical assassin than a traditional mid laner. He's trying to find an opportunity to flank around and instantly delete someone. In addition to that, you want this through space and time up as often as you can. Yeah, that's a big part of the value in the Janus pick, is just being able to transport your team from one end of the map to the other. And on the other hand, on this Merlin, you're looking for shred, you're looking for AoE damage, you're looking to burn these targets down and cut off some escape routes. Now,
he's not wasting
from Relentless
any
One.
time. Yeah, I mean, he just wants to get in there and will even use a couple of ultimates, right? Both the carry or rather the jungler and the soul laner have their ultimates taken off the board, and Pyromancer will be started up, but not committed to just yet by the Scorpions. He's waiting for them to step back up, and now Guy J does find the Living Nightmare and will force this flicker away there from Panda Cat. The ultimate comes through as well. Not Gino trying to keep Relentless One alive in this fight, but he looks to go back in. He dashes back in, and he's got the help of Short Fuse to do it. And all of a sudden, it's low health bars across the fight.
Oh my goodness.
Relentless One is the first to fall, but Panda Cat and not Gino are not looking too healthy. He has the cavalry charge back up. He used it at the beginning of this fight to engage. And just like that, they get one pick and they're out of there. Still the low health bars, though. They may want to keep fighting.
Such perfect timing on that cavalry charge. Scorpions cannot give this up just yet. The Wardens are in a perfect position to strip the Pyromancer away if the Scorpions reset. Gino takes some damage, and frankly, Heat is still looking for a little bit more. Recognizes this isn't the time to step all the way up, and this should be the Pyromancer going the way of Scorpions for now. It's a long fight, Frog, and I think that's really been the tale of this entire set, is very long, extended fights, and that's kind of what happens when you have these healers in the game. Aphrodite and Guan Yu both very good at keeping their team alive. Really, the front line is the biggest question here for the Kaolin Wardens. Having Relentless One on the Stratotosker means he's just a little bit squishier than he otherwise would be. The fact that he's going against a Guan Yu who can strip those prots away, make it a little bit easier for his backliners to kill the Stratotosker, could be a potential breakpoint for the Wardens. Have to see how it shapes up, though, because now the Gold Fury is what's being looked at. Scorpions are not here yet.
Pulled by the Wardens, Anxious is in range and has some steal potential. The through space and time is not enough, though, and the Wardens take the objective. We'll talk about the fight after, though, as Short Fuse is the only one in the front line. Relentless One tries to join him, but cannot save the jungler, and it'll be a 1-for-0, at least in trade, for the Gold Fury. But this 5-man rotation, the Scorpions are not here for nothing. They'll look to push down the tier 1 tower, and then Wardens may have a chance for a re-engage on this left side.
Kaolin Wardens are stepped up here, in position to defend the tower. Scorpions are going to have to play this carefully. Lots of damage put out into Relentless One. Wardens aren't able to find a good way into this one. Keep an eye on Baroneri. Maybe look for a flank. Relentless One resets. He's still here.
Yeah, the dash in from Relentless One will at least force the dash out from Anxious, but look at the rotation from Heed as well. He's just over in mid lane, split pushing. He'll rotate in now, but Relentless One is here way before the other soul laner, and he's in on Guy J, down to 25% HP. Anxious tries to save his ADC and ends up trading out his life for the better cause. Look at Heed and Miggy on the back line, though. They have trapped in potentially the 5 members here of the Wardens if they want to re-engage, but the Wardens, they don't want to wait for the Scorpions to re-engage. They're looking for something of their own. This guy comes out, and now the cavalry charge on a star! The huge through space in time hits 3, and Griff is on the back foot. Panda Cat has to run away, but the Scorpions take damage as well. What could have been a game-changing ultimate, the Kaolin Wardens find a way out.
Man, that was such a good shot from Baroneri. He cut through that fight perfectly, exactly what the Scorpions needed. Frankly, even if they don't find a win off of that fight, I think just breaking the fight apart is a win in itself for the Scorpions. They put the brakes on what the Wardens were trying to do. They end up losing their tier 1 tower instead of taking it away from the Wardens. It's about what they needed to do there. They needed to stop the aggression and go back to a more neutral standpoint. Not going to look at the Fire Giant just yet, just getting some vision down, making sure the Wardens aren't feeling cheeky. So you look at these teams, Wardens have a ton of shred potential around these objectives, but if Relentless One gets caught out, they may not be able to use it.
He's in between 4 and does not have the ultimate available. The Soul Laner will fall, and it could not come at a worse time as Heed is making space for 3, and the third space in time is huge! It takes down 1, Panda Cat will fall, 2 down for the Kaolin Wardens, and the other 3 are stuck under their tier 2 tower. Another huge through space and time, and now the space is here for the Fire Giant.
This is exactly what you picked the Janus for. Just massive damage through walls, completely flipping these fights around. Keep an eye on this Fire Giant, though. Not Gino. Is here looking to try to switch things up, try to put the pressure on.
These guys back as well. He's going to jump in. The Scorpions secure it, and now they're looking for the picks on the other side. Short Fuse is the focus, and not Gino has to run away as well. Heed will be the only member of the Scorpions on the back line, and it looks like he will trade his life. But Mickey comes back in and makes something out of nothing, taking down Griff as well. Veronari will fall in addition, and they'll lose 2 Fire Giant members, but they do get the buff. They get a kill in trade, and they have a siege ahead of them.
Still in favor at the end of this for the Wardens. Stripping your Fire Giant away from 2 of the enemy, that feels pretty good. You can take a look at that gold dip there. It comes right back up as the Wardens were able to secure those 2 kills. Still, not out of the woods just yet. The Scorpions are still leading by 1,500. That doesn't account for the stats the Fire Giant does give you. Make no mistake, they are on the front foot here. This is all about how they can establish a lead now. Scorpions can take these towers down. They can easily swing left, strip that tier 1, take a tier 2 off the board as well. Probably look at the mid lane as well. But instead, they're going to start with this Gold Fury. It's a good place to start as well. It's pretty much a guaranteed objective for them at this point. It's guaranteed they will be getting that gold. Wardens aren't going to step up around that. Likely aren't going to step up around this tier 1 either. But the Scorpions are deciding to back off. They're not going for that tier 1 just yet, and I'm not in favor of that. Here,
well, they at least have a wave to push up, right? Remember, this is a 20-minute Fire Giant. That's pretty early in the game. You could have 2 more Fire Giants and have neither of them be EFG before we get to that stage of the game. So I think it's right to at least take it slow, take it cautiously, see what you can get out of this one. And I agree. I hope they get more than just a tier 1 tower. And right now it seems like they're at least favored a little bit in positioning if they were to push into this tier 2. But Veronari's not there. Heed is paused, and instead they're pinging out the mid lane. This may be a shift towards the focus here. Veronari has joined his team. Now they're going back towards the left lane. And because of this flip-flopping back and forth, this space made by Heed, they won't even have to have a proper siege fight. They make enough space, they get a free tier 2. They may even look for more.
Yeah, they're stepped up here. They shouldn't be looking for a Phoenix just yet. They spent a good amount of time from this Fire Giant already. Tier 2 is about the last thing you can look for here, but even at that, likely that your Fire Giant is going to be falling off of you around the time that you're looking to step up. Instead, they're going to go ahead and start a reset here, pull back, spend some of the gold that they've just gotten. Remember, it's a Gold Fury and 2 towers in their pockets. This is the first time they've really gotten themselves a good lead in this game. Pushing closer to the 4,000, maybe 3,500 right now. They put themselves in a good position to start looking towards this next Fire Giant, start looking towards these next towers as well. Primal Fury being a ways away, these objectives are staggered very well. This isn't a situation where the Scorpions are going to step up to the Fire Giant only to get got by losing an objective on the other side. Wardens have to respect where the Scorpions are looking at this point and respond effectively. Relentless One, getting pressured out, may get cut off here.
Yeah, running the wrong way. Does have the ultimate available, and I think does channel it at the perfect time there. And he's definitely going to want to get out of that one. But I think just from that little interaction and from what we've seen from Relentless One out, this entire game, you really have been feeling the effect of not having a traditional solo. There's no Guan, there's no Hercules. You're not necessarily able to run at these guys as well as you would be able to, and maybe you're feeling that on this Fire Giant as well. 25 minutes in, this is trading down to half HP almost instantly, and just now the Wardens are arriving to it, but it's the Scorpions all on the same page, pull off the Fire Giants and onto the enemy team. Not Gino, caught out between a rock and a hard place, and he'll be the first one that gets taken down. Heed making space for the carries as well. They'll hop back on the objective.
I cannot believe Short Fuse just recalls there. Heed, now way too deep, getting cut down by Griff, finally gets his way out.
He will be continuing to run away, and I think he's made enough space. He's drawn the ADC away. Relentless One is in the air and will not be able to make use of that ultimate at all. Everybody on the Scorpions grabs that Fire Giant this time. They're able to get out cleanly and set up for this next siege.
This is a big break point for the Scorpions. Wardens have to find a good defense here before this lead grows any bigger. You're already looking about 4,000 down. Fire Giant around the waists of all 5. Tier 2s, not likely to withstand the push, but you're not at such a great deficit that you have to give them up for free. You can put up a soft defense. You can put some poke out into the Scorpions. But what you really, really have to do is find some way to restrict Baronary. He is simply firing these through space and times way too easily. And even in that fight, it didn't hit anyone. It didn't matter that it didn't hit anyone because it opened up a dive path for Heat. He was able to walk through a wall and just get directly onto the back line. You have to know where he is. Look where he is right now. Short fuse coming around the corner, but doesn't spot him out. Could be another through space and time.
Yeah, Baronary is looking to line up a highlight play from the jungle here on the right-hand side. And Short Fuse, I think, still has no idea that he's there. He's about to step into this line of sight, but the Tier 2 tower is the one under focus off the bat here. Relentless One will be the victim of that last breath, and Circuit ultimate is now off the board. But a good amount of poke here. I mean, they have a good siege defense. The Merlin abilities coming out, clearing the wave, a lot of poke to prevent them from trying to push down this Tier 2 tower. They're going to have to play this slow and methodical, and instead, they'll choose to back off.
Yeah, this is the downside of the Janus. It doesn't have a traditional siege break. You can't really put a lot of poke out into the enemy. You're just looking to find ways to catch somebody out and get your team in there. If those opportunities aren't being made, hard to find value. Dude, Cosmos, he used to space out.
Relentless One will try and push that down, and he makes enough space for them to grab the Gold Fury, but immediately Speed finds his way into the backline, and the Giannis ultimate brings everybody right into the face of Panda Cat, but Griff turns things around and at least trades out 1 for 2 in favor of the Scorpions. They'll continue to push down this lead as Baronary is fighting Short Fuse on the left-hand side as well. But Guy J is hesitant. He's trying to make the play. Short Fuse falls, and it's 3 down now for the Wardens. Not Gino and Griff linked together on the left-hand side. They're the only ones between the Scorpions and the Titans. And the unstable Vortex grabs 3. A triple kill for Baronary. They will march down the left-hand side, and the Aaru Scorpions will take game number 3 in the set.
What an incredible play coming out for Baronary on that fight. Through space and time, literally just won the Aaru Scorpions this entire game. Relentless One can't put up a defense for this one. Simply too much shred. The fact that he was able to not just hit Relentless One with that ult, but also Panda Cat, and also just place a perfect door for he to go, there's a backline for me to kill. Not much that the Wardens could do at that point. Simply too much dive, too much access, too much burst. And the split at the end was what really solidified the grave for the Wardens. Short Fuse was trying to retreat up the lane. Baronary just looked at him and said, nah. And he's one of the mages that can close that gap the easiest between himself and the rest of his team by just walking through a wall. The burst is just too much.
Yeah, I mean, I think you said it right when you called it on the desk. The difference in the Giannis and the Tiamat, you don't necessarily get the dive in from the Giannis that you get from the Tiamat, right? You don't get the space creation, but that's another one in that last fight where you just make that door opening. I'm not even convinced that Giannis ultimate had to have hit Panda Cat. Even if it had missed Panda Cat, even if it had missed Relentless One, you just get, like, there's a Giannis ultimate, and Panda Cat gets to ask, oh, what's the circle in this wall? And there are 4 people in front of him at the snap of a finger. He's like, he just doesn't get to, he doesn't have time to react. And they trap everybody in the purple buff. It is a perfect fight. You could not draw it up better for that comp.
I mean, you could have drawn it in a way that maybe Mickey survives it, but you know, all's well that ends well. It ends up being a clean sweep for Scorpions there. They take out everyone on the side of the Wardens, and really that's all you're looking for at that stage of the game. They still have the Fire Giant, walked it down. Really tragic for the Wardens. They weren't able to create more space in that one, but it's like you said, Frog. they were feeling the effects of not having a traditional solo lane. The Ratatosker couldn't do it. Guan Yu could.
The Scorpions able to come out here in week number 3 and reverse sweep. The Kaolin Wardens will take the win home, now 2-1 in the SEC. The Kaolin Wardens fall will go to 1-2, looking to bounce back in week number 4. That is going to do it for us. It's been a fantastic weekend of competitive gaming, and we are going to come back with more competitive gaming, just as much action next weekend. I've been Frog, joined by Spooky Raptor, doing production in the back end, and we will see you next weekend.